Sexy, Wexy, Hexy, Bexy. It's Hotline League episode 69. And of course, for episode 69, we had to get none other than Locodoco on the show. He's our guest. But before we get to that, quick shout out to Alienware for the sponsorship of the show. We'll be talking about them more later on. First off, I got my constant co-host next to me, Mark Zimmerman. How's it going, Mark?
It's going.
Is your cat just
real
I
good?
See something moving around in the background.
Yeah, that's what I say. Just took a dump, and I think he went to cover it a second time because it smelled so bad.
Well, that's great. We're starting off the show in a classy way, and that's how I like to start the show. How you been?
Good. I'm pretty tired today. I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I'm just not feeling it. Not feeling too great.
Great. Well, this show's gonna pick you up. You're gonna get excited. You're gonna get pumped. The callers are gonna lift you up on their wings because they're angels. Or demons. We'll find out soon. Locodoco is also here. Locodoco, welcome back to the show.
Hi, it's my third time here.
Yes. Mark didn't remember your second time.
Wow. I try to forget that one too.
Okay. I actually don't remember much about it.
Actually, no. Second time was
the time where your room was messy? There's one time where your room was messy.
That was not my room.
Okay.
There's one time that there were a bunch of girls in the background, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Those were paid models. Paid models.
Very strange. Anyway, let's get into the show. How you been, Loco?
I've been good. So today I actually had, this is the third show that I'm doing. I had one with Lisa that I didn't show up for, April Fools. And then I did the one with Dom. Now I'm here.
The one with Dom?
Yeah.
Oh.
Me and Dom and Daniel have a show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, face check.
Wait, which Lisa?
Lisa Dawn. It's the Canadian
she used to
show.
work at the Score. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to show number 3. I feel like everyone's just doing more and more shows. Mark does like 3 shows now, right? Mark?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah.
Hello? Wake up.
I didn't know you were talking.
Episode 69 has got to be a special episode.
Okay.
Don't worry, Travis.
Let's
I'll
talk about
carry this
sex
episode.
or something.
Okay. No, we did that a couple of weeks ago for Hotline League.
That went well.
Yeah,
Well, you didn't invite me for that one?
Yeah,
Holy shit,
no,
I could have learned so much.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Anyway, so we can talk about there's some stuff that happened this past week. There's some stuff that happened this past week. We had playoffs, quarterfinals. We now know that TSM and FlyQuest are going through. I don't know what's happening with my light. TSM and FlyQuest are going through. Interesting matches there to discuss. And that might be the most of it. I heard some rumor that there was some news dropping tonight, or like an article about something, and I haven't seen it pop up yet, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe this
was
vague
vague
for
and impossible to comment on.
Yeah, well, I think maybe they decided to duck it for April Fools, but it's apparently a like ownership thing. I don't know.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to put that out on today.
April Fools, yeah.
So there's that to talk about. I don't know. Is there any other like specific topics that occurred in the past week?
All pro stuff.
Oh yes, the all pro teams that got announced. We now know who the all pros are, and so we can discuss that. I feel like that'll be an interesting thing. People can call in and say whether or not they feel like TSM, Cloud9, and TL should have had the vast majority of that. There was a Cats vs Dogs April Fool's match in which Mark played a cat. You were a cat, right, Mark?
Yes, I was indeed a cat.
Okay, well, we could talk about that.
Or we could not. That's also the option.
Yes. Well, I think we should. I guess you get to pick the decisions though, so I think that's good. It's a bunch of different stuff. Loco, you had said you had something that you wanted to talk to Mark about, or that you wanted to bring up.
Oh, yo, Mark, what do you think about the Analyst desk right now in North America?
What do you mean?
I think it's just really vanilla sometimes.
I think my camera's vanilla. What the fuck is it doing?
So Loco, you should probably add some context on this because I did not see the episode, but I did see the title of your episode from last week with Thorin was why is the Analyst desk boring? I think that was what was like on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
So what was the conversation you guys had?
Well, I watch a lot of sports shows. First Take, Colin Cowher's show, Speak for Yourself. I love sports shows. Hotline League.
Yeah.
Sure. And there's a lot of debate and argument and differing opinions, and I think conflict is one of the core driving forces of an analyst desk. And it's very, very rare for NA analyst desk to have conflict. Recently, there was a little bit with like the Rek'Sai pick with Crumbs, High, and Marks, but that was like the only one I can remember in recent memory. And I just find it so bland a lot of times. And I know Mark is a really good personality. I know Crumbs is a really good personality. And yeah, I find it weird that NA analyst desk is very vanilla.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Any thoughts on this? I promise I did not pit Loco up to this. For full context, Loco, it's very funny because I have in the past brought... I share your opinion, so maybe you and I can just talk about this while Mark is silent. He doesn't want to talk about it, but I brought this up to Mark before, and I was like, hey, because basically a couple weeks ago I watched... The thing that super triggered me about the analyst desk was I watched Echo Fox versus 100 Thieves, and it was a really painful match to watch. And then afterwards there was like 8 minutes of analysis of it on the analyst desk, and I was so just like, get me out of here. Not necessarily even because the analyst desk part was not great. I just think there wasn't like great material for them to talk about. They didn't bail out of it or whatever. So I kind of have already had this conversation with Mark about it and asked him if it was worth bringing up on the show. And now you brought it up on the show, and he's going to think that I pitch you up to it.
No, he 100% didn't. It's something that me and Doran talked about before. And yeah, it's how I...
Do you guys watch the countdown?
Yeah, I watch the countdown.
I watch half the countdown usually. I usually miss the first 15 minutes.
Do you feel the same about the countdown, or is it just the AD?
No, I like the countdown, and I think that like that's some of the best LC, like outside of the games. I think the countdown is the best content from the broadcast.
Countdown is really hit or miss. So for the FlyQuest TSM one, I really hated the Rivington part where he just went over like random ass plays that happened in playoffs, and I really didn't like the Jat stats part. I thought that one was really...
Oh, I thought the Jat stats part was super cute. I mean,
was that interesting though?
The desk and the lights were giving me a seizure. Like I thought I was going to have some sort of epileptic reaction from it, but I thought it was really cute, and I like the fact that they threw to the audience at the end to beat Mark and all those guys. But I thought it was entertaining, if not necessarily informative.
Okay, so my point of view is Dash is an excellent host. Dash is one of the best hosts that I know. And when I interviewed Mark actually had a lot of back and forth with me, and I thought it was a really interesting conversation. And I am curious why that kind of conversation doesn't get facilitated when they have like really good personalities like Mark, Crumbs, and High, and Dash has a great host. So yeah, I don't know if the desk was told to be vanilla or not to argue. Or
no, I guess I'm gonna be able to come out and say we were not told to be vanilla. So that part I can squash right there.
Mark, you're genuinely like you're a really interesting personality. Don't you think the desk doesn't show much of that from you, Crumbs, High, or anyone on the desk?
I mean, this is a difficult thing to talk about when it's like you and your coworkers and all that stuff. I don't think we've been like as good as last year or in previous years. Like I definitely think we've been trying to find our footing more this split. And I think one thing we haven't had as many interesting segments in the post game where sometimes we'll like go and bring out the BFTS station where we can like play the game and break a pick down. Sometimes we have more stuff like that. And I feel like we have been lacking some of the cooler elements to the show, which sometimes helps bolster if people aren't like super disagreeing. Because I don't think the problem Jad and I had was actually we agreed on the game too much. So I don't think like there's suddenly less agreements on the desk. I don't think there's suddenly like we're more agreeable on the desk. Jad and I would sometimes struggle really hard about being like the same mind, having to like find different ways to talk about it. So I don't think it's that. I think we haven't had as much stuff that like really popped on the desk and made it feel like it wasn't just three dudes talking.
So I'll chime in with my opinion, which I don't necessarily think any of the guys on the analyst desk are bad, My concern is that I feel like the personnel, like having Mark, Crumbs, and High, who I think are all kind of low energy speakers, is part of the problem. And that you kind of combine all these guys, and it is like very matter-of-fact conversation to very matter-of-fact conversation to very matter-of-fact conversation. For me, I think what would be really exciting to me would be to see somebody come in and try to like disrupt that desk, where not necessarily even conflict, though I think conflict is one way of doing it, but just somebody who like raises the energy levels up a ton of everybody on the desk and kind of banter back and forth with Dash on it. I don't know if you have thoughts on that specific idea, Loco.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it needs high energy, and I just would like conflict. My favorite part of the desk was when they disagreed about the Rek'Sai pick, and then they came back to it like throughout the series. I thought that one was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I want more of that, and I genuinely don't think any of the cast is bad. I appreciate all the opinion Mark, High, and Crumbs has, and I think Dash is an excellent host. I think just a little bit of adjustment would bring that desk so much better.
My excitement is more like some of my favorite moments on the desk is when there's conflict, or there's not conflict, but competitiveness, because I think all those guys are super competitive, and so when you have things like the buy and sell of the stocks or anything where there's some sort of like competitive element, that's when I think it gets really fun. Potentially that's why the Rek'Sai thing was fun too, because people felt like they had opinions that were at stake and would be played out over the course of that game. So, I don't know. Any final thoughts, Mark?
Nope.
No, okay. I understand. It's a really careful topic for Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to bring it up. Avali says, "Put me on the desk. I've got things to say." I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to have Avali on.
I think it should be cool to have her on once or twice.
Yeah, once or twice, and then that's it.
Well, like, I think I'd want to have her on for like a segment type thing.
Yeah. I got you. All right. Well, let's see. Any other things to talk about before we start to get into calls? Mark, anything that's been on your mind over the course of this past week?
I watched a video about non-computable numbers. It was really cool. It's been on my mind since 6 p.m. when I watched it.
Is this like related to League of Legends?
No, it's about mathematics.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on League.
You asked if anything was on my mind. Please be more specific. If you don't want to hear
about. Which match did you guys enjoy more, the TSM Echo Fox match or the FlyQuest Golden Guardians match, or the TSM Echo Fox match?
Oh, FlyQuest Guardians easily.
For sure, yeah.
Do you feel like it was that? So what's interesting is, do you feel like the TSM Echo Fox match had higher play, or the Golden Guardians FlyQuest?
Probably level of play. The highest level of play shown was from TSM, but the actual the funness of the match and the back and forth and the kind of adjustment that was made throughout the series, Golden Guardians and FlyQuest was way more interesting. Yeah. Where for TSM and Echo Fox, TSM adapted after game 1, and Echo Fox could not find the answer to what TSM had for 3 games, and it was a slow death.
Yeah, I agree.
I felt like the TSM series, the problem with it was like you knew TSM had the better players, so once they fixed their draft from game 1, it was like, unless Echo Fox can keep out drafting them, any close drafts, TSM wins.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the calls. Blah. Like choking over myself this night. Let's get into the calls. Mark, do you want to explain how this works?
Yeah. So if people have never done this before, the way this works is I'm spamming Twitch chat right now with a link to the Discord. So go ahead, join up on the Discord. When you get there, make sure to join the Pleb Calls or Pleb Calls to voice channels. We got a lot of people in here tonight, which I'm excited for. Once you're in there, you can kind of mute yourself. You don't need to be able to hear anything. And in the Pleb Topics text channel, go ahead and post whatever it is you want to talk about. We have preferred takes. So TSM didn't look good enough. They're going to get slammed by C9. This guy didn't deserve to be on the All-Pro team. Whatever it is, go post your take there. If I like it, we'll pull you down into the waiting room where you'll hang out until it's your turn. I'll hop in, do a quick mic check to make sure you sound good, and then we'll pull you onto the show to actually get on.
Yeah. I think we did have a couple people discuss last week, like, could TSM or Cloud9 win, or Team Liquid or FlyQuest. So just make sure that if you call in, maybe you have some sort of take based off of this past weekend, so that we know that we're not just rehashing topics that we brought up last time. And again, if people want to talk about the 2019 Spring Split LCS Award winners, I have that webpage ready to go, as we can see right here. And you can sort of take your opinion on any of these guys in the first team or below. But your first LCS All-Pro team is Licorice, Xmithy, Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Core JJ. If you are a sub, by the way, first off, thank you for being a sub. Secondly, that does allow you to put your topic in the subtopics chat, which moves a little slower, so it gives you a bit of an advantage. While Mark is going through all of your questions and your thoughts and trying to figure out who's going to come on, I want to read off a couple of names for people who threw a sub my way. Nestle Crunch, My PS, Divide NZL, Blue J1344, Call Me Happy, Pokemon 383, Quiet Pirate, Dr. Dragon 500 with the 500 bits, and Call Me Happy with the 600, Space Cowboy 247, IK001, McHugh, and Ateo Rachel. Hi, Rachel. 1 year. 1 year, Rachel. Congratulations on supporting us for 1 year. That's incredible.
Yo, Travis, Ovly mentioned something. Can I talk about it?
Yeah.
So Monty recently had a tweet regarding interviewers asking, "How are you feeling?" And that not being a great question. That not being a great question to ask. What's your feeling on it? As like a
I am of the opinion, like, how are you feeling is the first question, or the first thing that I say you should not ask. It is like the biggest cliche.
But everyone does it.
Yeah, well, I don't do it. And I wince when I see other people doing it.
I don't remember if you do it or not, but I forget. So this is a big conversation on Twitter that spun off into a weird rabbit hole that I don't want to get into. But I saw Kelsey link 3 people's YouTube channels in their first video that had basically, it wasn't specifically how are you feeling, but like some form of that, like how are you doing, what's up, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I don't mind. I think it's fine to ask what is going through your head right now, or what did that win mean for you, or whatever. I think it's actually fine to try to get their immediate reaction, especially depending on how recent the matchup was. But I literally take issue with the phrase how do you feel right now?
Yeah, I think just how do you feel is really empty. So I went back and checked the interview that Kelsey linked to me. It was actually the one with Mark, and I asked him like, how do you feel about the match? Like,
Is this Kelsey Moser?
Yeah, Kelsey Moser. And then because I was asking Mark like how he felt about the match, I didn't think it would be this close, and if he felt it was this close, I thought it wasn't exactly that. But do you actively make sure you don't say it, Travis?
Yes. I think I say it maybe once a year, and when I do, I want to die. And you can probably see it on my face. I am like, dear God, why did I do that? I mean, I do like probably over 400 interviews a year, and so I'm sure it slips out sometimes, and it's such an easy thing to go for. But I purposely will try to say, what did that mean for you, or you know, what is going through your head right now? What was that experience like for you and your teammates? Like, what does it mean? Whatever. Like, you can ask that type of question. I think the question in of itself is a fine one to ask. You just, like, that phrasing is so cliche and lazy. It's like starting a novel with a long time ago, or whatever. You know, like, it's just.
Or how do you feel about trash talking LCS?
Yes.
JK.
I don't care.
Get the caller.
How do you feel? How do you feel? I mean, I'm still not. I still don't really care about spending a week asking players how they feel about trash talking the LCS. Whenever it's like week fucking 5 or 6, you start to stretch for topics to talk about, in my opinion. But
yeah, for sure.
It's fine to say like, how do you feel about this thing? But saying like, how do you feel about that is, I think, pretty lazy.
I think it depends like how long the interview is. If it's a 10-minute interview,
mic just went weird. Mark,
my Discord's been acting funny. You guys have been sounding weird to me, but I know it's on my end.
It's definitely. I think it definitely switched your mic input. But go ahead.
Motherfucker!
Oh my goodness, this is a family-friendly show.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh, whatever you did, just fixed it.
Yeah, we never claimed to be family-friendly. I don't see any family-friendly like E for everyone shit on our screen right now.
Well, it's Travis is E for everyone.
There's
and
an
Doran
Alienware
is rated
logo,
R.
which I hope tries to discourage profane language. But we don't need to spend more time on that. Mark, do you want to go grab our first caller?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Couple more names to read off while we wait. Zugby, Wildy One
Hey,
Thrill,
people who are in the room, you should unmute yourselves.
Admiral Longdong Silver, Noi the Knight, 333, Event Nexus for 14 months, Infinite Zero, who says cats are greater than dogs, and Rico Suave 86193, who says happy 15 months. You're the greatest league content, great interviews with players and live your talk show. Loco. April Fools. Seriously, keep up the good work, Travis. Thank you. Good. You got me, Rico Suave. Fucking hate this holiday. We should be getting our first caller in.
You know, I posted content today, and then I checked Reddit, and I was like, holy fuck.
You'll notice today. I did not post any content today.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing hit my YouTube channel. I think it's a bad idea to do that.
Yeah. I forgot completely. What is it that... it's basically subreddit goes down for a day.
Yeah. I'm not giving Ovely 10 minutes of anime discussion. Twitch chat seems to think that's what we need to do. Ice Paprika is here. Ice Paprika,
Yes.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Montreal, Quebec.
Montreal, nice. I love Montreal. I went there a little bit over a year ago, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah. Is French your first language?
It is, and I was the one who called a few weeks ago and completely had a seizure about describing my username. I've since changed it to avoid such a blunder again.
Yeah, what was your username? This is why I don't remember you.
It was Oaken. It was The Economist.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well,
yeah, please don't make me go through that again. That was bad enough.
What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I want to talk about the appearance of mini metas within series. Like how the losing team would for some reason always pick Jarvan in the Echo Fox TSM series, and how some teams seem to be extremely resilient to changing their perspective on a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to get your guys' idea as to why that occurs, if it's really like based on a player, maybe past results, and like maybe them not wanting to adapt as quickly as necessary or something.
Mark, you've been quiet so far. Do you want to start us off on this?
I have two thoughts. So I'll give my first thought, let Loco go, and then give my second thought.
Sure.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I agree with what Ice Paprika is saying about people not necessarily adapting super quickly. I think in this case, like, they had gone in playing 3 or 4 games with Jarvan into the playoffs, and it was all Rush had really looked good on, and he was struggling all split long on seemingly other champs. And so I think while he had a winning Kindred game, it didn't look very good necessarily. So I think I can understand them going Jarvan.
They banned Kindred. He got forced onto Jarvan because they banned Kindred.
Yeah. So I think they did eventually drop the priority on it, so it wasn't being first pick, but they were still taking it, which, I mean, well, I don't know what else Rush can play. I don't know how scrims went, so I have a hard time saying like he should have done this specific thing.
So my take on it is usually teams have some kind of a setup or some kind of requirement that they want in drafts. Maybe they really want to make sure they have hard engage. Maybe they really want to make sure they have 2 tanks, and they aren't willing to budge on that rule. So for Echo Fox, maybe one of their rules was we want to make sure we have engage on Rush, and there isn't that much engage champions available, so they went with Jarvan. As for teams not adapting, there's so much practice behind before going into best of 5, and for you to adapt on the spot means you're giving up your practice, and it feels really dangerous, and it feels like, oh, we're doing this backward. Why are we giving up on the practice? When in reality, a lot of times your practice is not actually against the team you're playing, and your practice was against different opponents. So it's really important to give up practice and switch picks and be flexible. And I think a lot of rookie coaching staff aren't able to do this, and the more veteran coaching staff are, and it's just something teams need to be able to do. And you'll see different picks go really highly in terms of priority in the series, like Varus in the Golden Guardians versus FlyQuest. Like Varus is normally not a first pick champion, but it rose to first pick status because Deathly wasn't able to play other champions, and it was really important for FlyQuest to take that tool away from Deathly, so they kept first picking it to deny it from him. So yeah, definitely something that happens in a best of 5 series.
Dino Knots, and of course we'll take this with a grain of salt because it's somebody we don't know. No offense, Dino Knots, but Dino Knots in chat says Rush practiced Camille all week, and on stream he said he never played J4.
Well, that is interesting. I don't really have a follow-up
Maybe
off
it just
that.
goes down to the coaching staff decision. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Camille jungle isn't good right now, so I don't know why they were practicing it that much. Yeah, so like that's why it's weird to me. It's like Jarvan is seen around the world, and Camille is not that good. So I don't know. I wouldn't want, if I was a coach, I wouldn't want playing Camille either.
Oh, also, I can provide a little bit of context. I actually ran into Song and Tyler, the Echo Fox coaches, after that LCS match on Sawtell, and they were pretty frustrated with the loss. And I don't think they got what they wanted, or like they weren't. Sometimes it's very easy to just blame Song and be like, why didn't Song prioritize Rek'Sai? Why didn't Song take Rush off of Jarvan? I don't know if it was Song forcing it. I don't know if it was Rush forcing it. But without like actual proof, I think it's very wrong to put the blame on Song. And I think it's also very easy because probably most of us are Rush fans over being a Song fan.
Well, so the other thing I wanted to say, which was my second part to this, was there's always things that you can do to improve the draft. Well, just in anything. There's always little things you can do to improve. It's draft, it's in-game, it's warding, it's laning. There's always little things you can do better, but because draft is such an easy thing for people to talk about, they often tunnel on draft. And like, while I agree with the premise of like maybe there's a better pick than J4 based off how the series was going, they did not lose that series at all because of Jarvan 4, which I would go to the grave saying, like, you get a counter pick Swain into Lissandra and he fucking dies twice pre 5 minutes because he walks back into lane, kills himself, TP's back, doesn't fucking ward and dies again. That's why you lose the series. That's why you lose games, not because the Jarvan pick wasn't that good. And so, like, I think the community sometimes, because it's easier to talk about draft, and they miss, like, these other really big points. And so, like, I agree, there's probably something better than J4. Is that why they lost the series? No, they were fundamentally outclassed as a team by TSM.
Well, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this, Ice Paprika.
I had somewhat of a follow-up question, but I think Mark's last point kind of made it moot. But I was going to ask Loco, since you said that they probably wanted to engage on Rush, is Vi that unviable? Is there like no place for Vi in LCS whatsoever?
Actually, I think LCS meta, and meta in general, is way more rigid than it needs to be. But people are not as practiced on Vi, and people are not as proficient on Vi, so it's a double-edged sword. If you can practice Vi secretly and then you play it, then it's really good, right? But also, right now in the meta, there's so much stopwatch and there's so much res effects. It's really incredibly hard to play Vi. Like, say you played Vi versus TSM, like they're drafting Lissandra, Zillion, it would not go well at all.
Okay.
I think it's being played in the LPL, I hear. I actually haven't watched, so I'm not sure, but I hear it's being played there and it's doing fine. So I think there is a world where Vi can work, but to Loco's point, it probably is pretty comp specific.
Okay. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ice Paprika. Anything you want to say on the way out?
No, just love the show and I listen to it every week.
Thanks. Keep pulling it down in Montreal.
Will do.
Everyone. By the way, there was somebody I saw in the subtopics chat who put a topic in, but isn't in any of the channels, and I would have pulled you, but you're not in a channel.
Which one do you want?
You just joined. It's McHugh. But yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. I still don't see them in the channel. Mark, you want to go grab our next person?
Yeah, sure.
You guys, just as a heads up, if you do join the Discord and you want to put your topic in, we can't pull you into the waiting room if you're not in one of the channels. Lagoonist, 12 months. Thank you, Lagoonist. A whole year. Poro on Mars for 9. Brawler Yukon, 7 months. Deadly Kitten, 4. Orange Star, Jordan, Quad Demon, Purple Ray Q for 12 months, a whole year. Hamburglar for 2 months and says, see you in St. Louis. Are you going to St. Louis, Loco?
I wasn't, but I suddenly might be.
Okay. That sounds interesting.
That's good, right?
Yeah, it's good.
What is this guy's topic, Travis? I don't even see his topic.
I will find that.
Oh, I see. It's all the way at the top.
Yeah. The biggest
Got him.
cow has joined us. Welcome to the channel, the biggest, or to the call, the biggest cow. Where
How's
are you
it
calling
going?
from?
I'm calling from New Jersey.
From where?
New Jersey?
New Jersey. Okay. How did you come up with the name the biggest cow?
I don't know. I made my league count like since like season 2. I was juvenile. Just
Okay.
the only thing I could think of.
Well, I'm glad it stuck. What do you want to talk about in the show tonight?
I believe that FlyQuest will beat Team Liquid 3-2 in a very scrappy game, but it's because of TL's struggles and FlyQuest's motivation to get to the finals.
Okay. Well, do you feel like TL isn't motivated to get to the finals? Because I feel it's hard whenever anybody sets motivation as a winning thing, you know?
Well, I feel like right now, like TL, it feels like I feel like since against FlyQuest, they feel like they're gonna get to the finals. While like, I don't know if you saw Santorin's interview after him winning the quarterfinals, like he was already tearing up, like just so grateful to make it to semifinals. I think they're like extra motivated.
Gotcha. Well, do you want to elaborate a little bit beyond that on why you think TL won't be able to make it?
Yeah. I think FlyQuest, especially with how Santorin's doing, I feel like Santorin's the best jungler in the LCS right now. I think him being very proactive in the early game, and if they get him on like a Nocturne or something, that he'll be able to overrun Xmithy, and Xmithy has been proven to be a weak point of TL right now.
Well, my viewpoint is I agree with you somewhat on like kind of the motivation part. I think FlyQuest is 100% in on the semifinals, where TL, their motivation and their kind of viewpoint is at least a little bit divided. They're probably thinking a lot more about C9 TSM than they are thinking about FlyQuest, but there's still a really big skill differential. And I think it's really easy to underrate TL due to what happened in the final weeks of LCS. But are they just sitting around playing auto chess? Is that what they've really been up to? I mean, there was like a recent tweet from Mateos of him, Jensen, and Mateos, the C9 guy.
Oh, okay.
Porthillo on Twitter or whatever, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Of him, Jensen, and Captain Flowers like out clubbing.
Yes.
So that makes me slightly worried, but is TL and Steve and Doublelift just really gonna like chill and not take the match seriously? I feel like even if they come in at like 80%, 90%, like they're still way favored versus FlyQuest.
It would be pretty embarrassing if that tweet went out and then TL didn't make it past FlyQuest. I feel like in a best of 5, TL should just have enough experience that they are able to outgun FlyQuest. Because that's, I think, the biggest thing is like the ability for that team to adapt in a best of 5, I think, is going to be one of their strong suits. Mark?
I think that's true because I think it was Hai I was talking to who said this, but he was like, you know, they don't really have anyone who's like a losing series type player where they go out and just lay a turd. Other than maybe Xmithy right now, who like is like no one solo loses them games the way like Phoenix in that last one that we're talking about, like just got really outclassed by Bjergsen or something. And so I think those kinds of things are good for TL in the best of 5, even if they're not gelling as well as we want and they're not living up to the potential and they're a little less than the sum of their parts or something. Like their parts are still so good. Like no one really is going to do that. So maybe it's Xmithy, which matches up well for FlyQuest because that's where probably one of their strongest players are. But I think I didn't see enough out of FlyQuest in that last series to make me think they have a good chance versus TL.
Yeah.
Yo, Mark, what about the angle of I think TL draft really greedy a lot of times, and when Xmithy breaks down, they actually suffer a lot because then they have a hard time going through early game because Xmithy carries them through early game a lot. And that's definitely something that can happen where they draft greedy and Santorin outperforms Xmithy in the early game and they start breaking down.
It's weird because Santorin doesn't really play snowbally. I mean, like I know he played Lee Sin in the series. Yeah, but for the most part, he's not really playing snowbally junglers. It's Kindreds, it's Nocturnes, it's I don't know.
He can play Rek'Sai.
He can play Rek'Sai. I would say that's probably what will be one of the best chances for him this series. Kindred as well if he can get it. But like, it doesn't feel like the rest of the team. Like when Santorin gets ahead, it's like wow, what a great play. Now he's one kill up and has CS and has like tempo and he's being really smart, but he's not like, oh my god, Santorin just ended the game at 10 minutes. Like, he doesn't feel like that kind of jungler to me. And that's not like a great quantifiable thing to say. It's more just like a feeling when you watch him play. Super, super good, but not like in an underdog matchup where he's just going to slam all of TL around the map. So I don't know. I think Santorin will do well. I think he'll outperform Smithy in the series, but I don't think it's enough to make up what I expect to be a losing bot lane, a pretty even top lane, and a losing mid lane.
Yeah, there's whenever I said the thing about experience, the Twitch chat kind of lit up and said, FlyQuest doesn't have experience? Have you heard about Pobelter and Wild Turtle and Santorin? I didn't say FlyQuest has 0 experience. I said that I do feel like TL across the board probably has more. I mean, you got Core JJ, who won a Worlds not too recently, or not too long ago, and I think their coaching staff has more experience. And I think denying that would be a disservice to FlyQuest, because if FlyQuest wins, I think it should feel like a really impressive story that they were able to take out this like champion team. So yes, I think they have experience. I just think that TL might have the edge there.
Any scenario where we're talking about FlyQuest winning, right? We're talking about something unexpected happening and something from the norm happening, because TL and FlyQuest are both late game macro team fighting teams. It's so much likely that TL will win, but yeah, FlyQuest has to do something different, or something has to go extremely well for them than something that was actually shown. So yeah, we are grasping at straws when we say, oh, maybe FlyQuest can win, because we're talking about a best of 5.
Yeah,
I think Pobelter might be a big X factor in this series, just because he can play a more supportive team style than it feels like Jensen has been playing recently. And so maybe if they do a good job of like roaming to side lanes, they can hold Doublelift down and they can punish Impact, who's not as good in carry matchups or something. Like, I think there are a lot of ways that like you can make a good case for FlyQuest to have like some advantages and style matchups that could go in their favor this year. I just don't think they're going to happen.
Yeah.
I was also going to say that I feel like the mid lane was really also something you really got to look at, because Pobelter looked really good against GGS last weekend, and I feel like Pobelter usually struggles in playoffs. Like, I think he usually doesn't perform that well, but like last weekend he performed really well. So if he does the same thing next weekend, I feel like they have a decent shot of upsetting Team Liquid.
Do you guys feel like this meta is in particularly good for Pobelter?
Lissandra,
Swain,
Zoe, LeBlanc.
I mean, I feel like Swain is like a Pobelter special. I feel like I've seen him have a lot of good games on Swain.
Oh, when we talk about Pobelter, the caller said Pobelter played really well in the series. I think you have a very big image burned into your head of his last game on Zoe. The 2 games that he was playing into Froggen Vel'Koz, he didn't look that great. The Irelia game, he looked okay, and then the Lissandra game, like, he was getting turret taken away, and it wasn't looking the greatest. So, and also, like, we underrate Jensen so much because we compared him to Bjerg. We talk about, oh, he hasn't won a championship. He ran away to TL instead of being on C9. Like,
fucking Kevin Durant.
Yeah, Jensen's fucking good. So yeah, I don't think it's fair to say Pobelter will like do better than Jensen. I think it's a disservice to say, and I think it's actually, yeah, like Jensen is definitely better.
I definitely don't think Pobelter was to stomp on Jensen, but if he can just get the hands up on him, like, I feel like that'll give FlyQuest a huge advantage.
It would, but you're asking the worst player to get a hand up on the better player. Like, if Turtle can beat Doublelift, that would give a lead on FlyQuest. But why are we expecting Turtle to beat Doublelift? Why are we expecting Pobelter to beat Jensen?
Well, to the caller's point, I don't know if he's saying he's going to beat him, but like, if you can take Lissandra into, I mean, I don't know if he's playing Vel'Koz, but some kind of like Cassio, which is probably more up his wheelhouse, and like, you fall behind in lane, but if you can roam, I think I can understand like that idea that he'll play with the team better and have an impact that way, and not like beat Jensen, but beat Team Liquid kind of thing. I can see that. I also think Pobelter's actually really good in playoffs most of the time. It's Worlds and international competition he struggles, but he's gotten like player of the series and finals before and stuff like that. Yeah. I think Pobelter usually does well.
Biggest Cow, any final thoughts?
Thank you for having me. I love the content you do, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Right. Let's take a quick break, talk a little bit about our sponsor, for the show. Alienware. Thank you so much to Alienware. This is an Alienware PC that's right behind me. They power so much of what we do. And by we, I mean me and my editors. Actually, Mark's on.
I use an Alienware. Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I've been playing Skyrim on my couch, plugged into my TV. So my laptop's on my lap, and I'm using the mouse and keyboard, but I'm playing on the big screen.
Yeah. 4K,
blistering how many frames per second I'm getting, but I don't notice any lag.
Yeah. Well, you can be like Mark, okay? You can go get an Alienware computer, you can set it up, you can have all this fun. They're doing a bunch of cool stuff. I can't really talk about too much yet, but I know they're going to have a presence at St. Louis. There's an interview that I posted up last week with David from Alienware, where he was kind of teasing some of that stuff. He really wants to see Jack and Steve do a 1v1. I don't know if he's going to be able to make that happen, but I feel like Steve would just crush Jack. But they're looking to make fun stuff happen, including, and I don't know if I should say this or not because it's not completely confirmed yet, but I'm going to do it because Riot did that with FanFest, and this will probably go better than that. We are going to try to do a live Hotline League Friday night. It'll be sick. You guys can come out. We're going to have a location that we should be able to announce soon. It'll be a week from this Friday, and we're going to do it in the evening. So hopefully you guys will still be able to tune in live. I think it'll maybe be we might do it at 9 o'clock there. So I think 7 o'clock here. It's about an hour early. I don't know where St. Louis is in the time zone thing, but whatever. And you can come out. Should be really fun. Hang out with us. I'm trying to get some of the pro players to come because I hear there's some pros that might be making their way out of there or out to St. Louis. It should be pretty fun. So either way, that's going to be completely made possible by Alienware because they're going to rent us the venue and help pay for the production costs and bring my live producer out and all this stuff. So either way, thank you so much to them. And if you are attending St. Louis finals, please keep an eye on my Twitter account because we should be able to provide more info and would love to see you guys come out. Because even just coming out helps me because if it's a packed place, Alienware's going to be like, hey, we should do this more often. Either way, thank you so much to Alienware. And by the way, if you want to help me out, you can go to dell.com/Travis, which I will put in the Twitch chat right now. And also it'll be in the description of this YouTube video. That benefits me greatly as people go check out their stuff.
And if you want to help me out, you can go to twitter.com/themarkz. He's a great sponsor of the show, and if we could just get some likes and follows, interaction on his Twitter, I'm sure that would.
You're using our sponsor plug, which you get paid for, to promote your own Twitter.
It's it's our other sponsor, the Mark Z.
Let's move on. Thanks so much, Alienware, for their support. You want to grab the next caller, Mark?
Sure.
Okay. As we go into that, a couple more shout outs to folks. Dr. Manhattan 18 says, hope to see you guys in St. Louis going to finals. Hopefully you can make it to Live Hotline League. Hype Loves Shaq, Intrepid 90, NJS240, Xeno Shape Eternal, Blue 74, Roronoa Poro for 11 months, and Kermit Sudoku for 15. Our next caller is here. Hunter has joined the show, not to be confused with Hunter from Golden Guardians, because I don't think it's you.
I was sweating.
No, sir.
Where are you calling from, Hunter?
Denver.
Denver. Okay. How's Denver? I don't know if I've been. I think I was there when I was really young.
Yeah, it's wild. It'll be like 80 degrees, and then it'll be a blizzard. So fucks the roads up super bad. But
well, wait. Right now you'll get a blizzard.
Oh yeah, there was a few inches of snow just a couple days ago. Wait, last night maybe?
Jeez.
A few days ago? Yeah.
And then today was like 60 I really hope that Riot does an event in Denver in the future because I think that'd actually be a cool location.
Yeah, there's lots of cool spots downtown actually.
But now you've described this hellscape, so I don't know if I want that to be a thing. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I would like to talk about the all-pro teams.
Oh, hey, okay. What do you think?
I will. Man, there's a couple thoughts. Okay, I'll start by saying I do think standouts do typically get their due justice, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at Licorice, Pearson, and Core JJ. Those three, I think, actually, like in my head, if you didn't vote for them to be first team, you have to be trolling. I don't even see a case for anyone else. I think when you get to like jungle and ADC, there's some debate. I was actually super surprised. I don't know how you felt, Mark, when I was like, what did he say? Said something like, I think the only one debatable is Bjergsen. I was like, what are you talking about? I was super, super shocked by that remark.
Salt.
Don't look at my voting then. Because I put Jensen number 1, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
Wow, you put Jensen number 1, Mark? Holy shit, you were trolling.
It was really close, and I replied on Twitter or somewhere. I was like, I wish I could have given them the same points.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Hey, listen, that was a really tough one for me. I wouldn't call it debatable. I mean, he still had 100 points.
Yeah. No, he crushed it.
Mark, do you think if Bjerg and Jensen switched spots, TSM would be where they are for this split?
I don't know. Because I don't think that they would play the same play style, and then it's a really tricky question. Because I don't think you could have... Well, I guess they kind of did it with Licorice, right? Last year when he was... Maybe they could have. Because they literally had the same play style last year in spring when Licorice got all the draft resources and most of Svenskaren's time.
Dude, I'm picturing... like,
and they were almost number 1 team.
I think
TSM
this was...
season, without Bjergsen, they look insanely different.
There's actually a lot of people that pit Jensen.
Did you put Bjerg for your MVP, Mark, or did you put someone else? Oh, you put Core JJ?
You can't talk about it yet.
MVP voting isn't out yet, so I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Okay.
But I think, so for me, the Jensen things that really stood out was he was like nearly, I agree that with some people that like, oh man, he didn't have like the super big plays that you're used to seeing him have, and that's fair. But I think he still led the league in led the mid laners in kills, and he only had 12 deaths in 18 games. I love that stat, baby. Give me the mid laner who never makes a mistake. I love that shit.
You're talking about the mid laner that's in like such a nice position to be in. My top lane never needs help. My jungler pass almost perfectly.
Their top lane needs help all the time.
I'm from what jungle? Like Impact? Where's Impact like getting dove over and over again and needing like mid to cover or anything like that?
I would agree with you.
Compared to Bjerg.
I would agree with you if this was like a one-off. Like, oh man, Jensen joined the best team in the league, and now suddenly his like deaths are super low. But he's always actually super. Like people call him a KDA player for this reason, that he has low deaths and high kills. But like he also has insanely high DPM. He does play high DPM champions, to be fair. But like. I'm not one of those people who thinks he's a KDA player and that's why his deaths are low. I think he's legitimately that good. I've always been a Jensen fanboy though, so like the same way I can openly admit that like maybe I'm a little biased against Froggen, like I'm maybe a little biased for Jensen. So that's maybe why. But I think Bjergsen was super good, and like I said, I would have, if I could award points on my own, I would give them like both 2 or something. You know,
giving them a tie.
Yeah.
I think Bjerg was asked to do so much more, and Bjerg did it.
I think that's fair.
I also think it's kind of interesting, just since we're talking about mid lane. I'm sorry, I really don't agree with Niski being 3rd.
Who would you have?
I think, oh man, I think Pobelter. And the thing is it's stupid because if I say that, then people are going to think I'm saying Niski was bad, and he absolutely wasn't. I think Niski was good, but I think Pobelter was better. I think, dude, I'm not even a Froggen fan. Like, I was actually pretty much in agreement with Travis earlier, and I didn't think Froggen was going to be good. I thought Froggen probably had a better season than Niski.
I don't think I ever said Froggen was going to be good. I just said he wasn't the person for Golden Guardians. And I didn't think he was going to be able to... I certainly he overperformed my expectations, but I don't think I was ever like, he's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Okay, fair. I didn't think he was going to be that good, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay, so...
Niski, thoughts, Loco?
Niski, I think it's really easy to look bad, because his earlier season was bad, and he had to ramp up. But Niski did so much in teamfight for Cloud9 a lot of times, where it felt like Zazel and Licorice and Svenskaren were their engine in terms of getting the fight started, but Niski played really well in fights.
I thought Niski was super good, and I think... maybe it's a little influenced by when we had him on last week and talked with him about like his mindset towards his own play style, where he's like, I really don't give a fuck about like if someone has like a little bit better like CS than me, like if I'm in the right place making the right play. And so like that was one of my big criticisms of him, was like prior to voting was like, his laning stats aren't that great, yada yada yada. But like he's actually got really good kill participation. He's like always involved with his team. He doesn't actually die that much despite how aggressive he is. Like gets good damage out. He like the only knock I had on him was his laning phase, and like based off how he talks about how their team works and his mindset, it sounds like a super conscious decision that he's making. So like maybe that's why I gave him some slack, but I thought he was actually really good. My only complaint was like I don't think his laning phase is that good. But then he's but without me, like I didn't challenge him on that. But when we talked about Bjergsen versus Jensen, we talked about Bjergsen versus him as a potential semifinal matchup. He talked about in a matchup where someone's a good laner, he doesn't give a shit about them, you know, how they're beating him in lane or something.
Yeah, he was like, I don't need to smash lane. I'll just help my team out.
72.8 or sorry, 72.5% kill participation.
So C9 has a certain way they want to play, and Reaper is very clear on that, and he tells the player to play this way, and we are going to play this way as a team, and they're very good about doing it. Where the other players that we mentioned, Froggen and Pobelter, I think Froggen played the exact style that he wanted to play. I think Pobelter played the exact style that he wanted to play, and Niski was asked to change his play style and change how he plays, change how he prioritizes certain movements on the map, certain things that he wants to do, and he pulled it off.
Was he a hard carry in EU? I just didn't watch him. So
I was gonna say I didn't watch him. I remember his time on Envy when he was a hard carry player, when he played Lucian mid and Cassio mid and much more lane focused champions. I don't know what he was like on Splice.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
People are saying in chat he was one of the main carries. He was only a hard carry in playoffs. He was.
I feel like Jack's not the type of person to pick up somebody who was not a rock star.
Yeah. And then I was just gonna say too, it does feel a little bad because I think for players that aren't on the top brands or have these like crazy legacies, I think, like I said, after the standouts, I think the voting can get a little lazy. I think you just typically send in the top 3 teams. You know what I mean? But like guys, and I'm not saying they should make it. I just feel like they're almost not in the conversation.
I actually tried to. I thought it was. Are you talking about how just like the top teams dominated the?
Yeah.
I honestly, I felt. I don't know about Loco and Mark, but I felt like a sense of guilt or reticence over doing that. Like whenever because I voted most of the people that I voted were TLTS MC9 folks, and I actively tried to think of like other people, and I talked to other people about what other people could be in there.
Right.
And so I feel like for a lot of people there was probably like a desire not to just make it that because it feels lazy.
Right, and you don't want to do it just to not do it.
The big one that people could have gotten wrong was, I think, Acadian and Centauran.
I like how you say wrong. It's like an opinion, and you're like, it's like it's for Loco. It's like a quiz. It's like, no, you got this one wrong.
I think it's objectively wrong to put Acadian above Centauran, and I think people could have done it, and people didn't. And Centauran.
Wait, you think Acadian's top 3?
No.
I think the opposite. He's saying it. People could have.
Oh, did people put Acadian over Centauran?
Some did, but Centauran still got 3rd overall.
Yeah,
I think I think this was like, it does happen sometimes that people default into top 3 of the best 3 kind of thing. But I think that this was a split that was for the most part true, that like you were going to find around 75-80% of the best players on the best 3 teams. And even like players who are really good, like a Crown or PoE, or I don't know, like these guys who have kind of made a push in the past, like they had legitimate problems on their teams this split that kept them out of it and made it more clear cut.
I can't believe Haunter wasn't top 3. I don't know.
Oh,
I had him as second best. Like, I don't know.
This is something me and Mark actually
That's crazy.
argued about, because I put Broken Blade 3 and Haunter 3. If you asked me in the middle of the split, I would have even put Broken Blade at 4. I probably would have gone Haunter, Viper, and then Broken Blade for me. So why I didn't put Haunter and I put Broken Blade was throughout the whole split, they were looking for the light bulb moment where Broken Blade finally clicks, and the resource they're investing into Broken Blade is actually worth it. The counter picks, all the jungle pressure, and the light bulb clicked about 3 weeks before the season ended, and he continued his good form throughout. So I gave it to Broken Blade.
Yeah, but what about Monster, who just played well, I think, the entire season?
How well did he play the entire season? Like, being a hard carry on TSM, where all the eyes are on you, like, as a rookie player, like, coming from Turkish league, and asked to perform on this team where so much rookie players have came in and failed miserably and crumbled under the pressure. Like, him being able to accomplish that and that light bulb finally clicking for him, I thought was a huge accomplishment.
So,
but you can make the counter argument, though, which is like, he's on TSM. It's easier for him to look good in those games because TSM is a stronger team than Golden Guardians, where this is a team who got like 10th place back to back last year.
Mm-hmm. Travis, did you?
They don't have the
did we not watch Mike Young? Did we not watch Centurion on their first splits? Did we not watch Mitty? There's players on TSM that have failed miserably before. I don't think it's fair to say that. Yeah.
Well, so Travis, did you vote for Hanser or Broken Blade? I was just wondering.
I voted for Broken Blade. I'm progressing the conversation, right? I'm playing
I was going to chime in and say a very similar thing, because here's the thing. Like, yeah, he had the light bulb moment, but that came like week 7, week 8.
Yeah, that's
and for me, it's for me, and this is not universally true for everyone, but it's not a tier list. It's not like this guy ended the split as the third best. It's over the course, all 18 games, who put the third most biggest contribution to their team from the top lane. It's not a skill test, because otherwise someday would be up there for me. And it's not like at the time, end of season, who's the third best. And so that's why I have a problem putting Broken Blade for myself, was because they lost so many 2v2s top. Yeah. And they won a lot of games, and they played around him like crazy at the highest jungle proximity. He was given counterpick time and time again. And the only reason that they could do that was because they had they had like the most self-sufficient bot lane in the league, I would argue. And one of the most self-sufficient mid laners, so they could send Acadian and him top and do all that stuff. And I thought by the end of the split, their play style was fucking grooving, and I think that he was performing like the third best, but it took them super long to get there. Whereas a guy like Hanser had to sacrifice and play certain things. Like, he had to mold to his team. It wasn't his team molding to Broken Blade like it was for TSM. Yeah. And I thought with how bad bot lane was at points, jungle, mid, everyone was struggling, and Hanser was like, well, fine, I'll play Sion and Urgot because that's the only way we can win is if I'm on front line or Kennen or something. And so, like, he didn't have great, like, everyone in top lane, and this is why it was close, everyone had bad moments. So you can point to games where Hanser played like Rise and fed his fucking brains out. And like everyone outside of Licorice, including Impact, like everyone had games like that, which is why I think it's a close argument.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it has to be Broken Blade.
And this is for second, obviously. Like, first is Licorice, hands down.
Well, I put Broken Blade third. I thought it was Impact second, hands down.
I put Impact second too, yeah.
Yeah, I have Impact third. I don't know why everyone wants to shit on Impact like randomly. It's super weird.
He's a very boring player to cheer for, but fundamentally, and if you ask any player, Impact is extremely good.
Oh, dude, yeah.
What Impact is good at is not flashy in your face, like solo killing people. Like, you don't see Impact's lead unless you understand the game better.
It's hard to see his impact.
Oh my god.
Hunter, do you have any final thoughts as we move on?
I would just throw it real quick. I think Svenskeren was the best jungler, and I'll just end it with that, I think.
Mark, take that one first.
Yeah. No.
I disagree.
Hunter, thank you for calling in. Keep holding it down. Maybe we'll visit Denver in the future.
Cool.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right. We got about 5 more calls to get through and about 50 minutes. So let's see how things go. Thank you to Greg Copter, Shadow554, Daniel N92, Me Slant, Sadistic Nero for 5 months in a row, and Coco Sanchez for 13. Yeehaw, says Coco Sanchez. Makes a lot of sense. Loco, how you doing?
What's up? I'm good. Yo, what'd you think of troll boating? The clutch coach?
Door? Is that a door or is that like a cheat?
What?
Into your
shade.
Oh, it's curtains. It's curtains.
Oh, it's a window. Okay.
Yeah.
The way it's indented made it look like a door frame to me. Sorry, 1 second, Strive. What were you saying, Loco?
what do you guys think of troll voting? The clutch coach put Broken Blade first for top lane.
There's always that type of stuff.
That one was annoying to me just because it was like the most contentious like position, and I think it mattered. The hard thing is like, how can you call it troll voting?
He put Rush second also.
Yeah, I mean he was trolling, but it's the kind of thing where like, because Broken Blade is a fair candidate to put in the top 3, like you can't go out there and say he's wrong. The thing that I think a lot of fans, this is a tangent, sorry that we're still talking about this, but a huge problem for player and coach voting is, as good as they are about understanding the game and they have tons of experience in scrims and against them, they don't watch other teams' games a lot of the times.
Oh my god. All the good coaches watch every single game. I know,
right? But the players,
Tony does.
The players don't, and a lot of coaches don't like put a ton of effort into thinking about who they're voting for, and it's super like, this is who I vote for, you know. And so like, whereas some people like probably Loco, myself, and a lot of people will like go and spend like 2 hours on their voting. I don't think a lot of people do that, and I know players don't give a shit, and I know that they don't know anything about who was the highest DPM, how often did someone get counterpick. Like coaches might know that stuff, but players never do.
By the way, we'll get to this in a second. I'll wait till the caller's done. But Kyle0808 just gifted 10 subs, and one of them was Kobe. Just randomly got a gifted sub. Like, the odds of him getting that are pretty incredible. Congrats to Kobe, and thanks for watching, Kobe. You're a great roommate. Strive is here. Strive, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Florida. Congrats, Kobe.
That's great. Yeah. We're all supporting you, Kobe. He's probably... I hear him playing auto chess, so I don't know if he's hearing us.
I'm sure we're second monitor. We better be second monitor.
Whereabouts in Florida?
Fort Myers.
Fort Myers. Oh, wait. You've called him before?
Yeah, I put us on the map last episode.
Yes, that's right. Sorry. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Acadian's tweet after the match yesterday regarding Rush getting flamed, and instead of giving players that did well get credit. I can read it. I have it pulled up here if you want me to just read it exactly how he put it. I read through some of the comments on our post-game Reddit thread, and I just wanted to say the league community almost completely out for Rush's head instead of giving praise to the people that did it well is really sad. No wonder lots of players play not to lose in the LCS. And then he also said after that, at least he didn't AFK as the engager when his team was getting out macroed and were losing the game. So I think he makes a pretty good point in that second post, but at the same time, especially like what Double It said in that interview with Fast Fee Travis was when you get behind that you have to keep your foot on the pedal and kind of stay aggressive.
Well, he was memeing. He was talking about the 10 death power spike, which I. But I do hear what you're saying. You know, you have to like it's. We've talked about this I think before on the show how whenever a jungler is losing, it's really easy to look really bad. I think we talked about this with Xmithy. The one thing I will find, and I don't think that this is what's going on with Acadian, but it is really funny because he's like, what? Like the base of that post is like, why is everyone talking about Rush instead of the other jungler who was killing it in that game? I kill in there, and everybody's talking about how Rush sucks. What about? I like to imagine that's how it went down, but I know it's
more importantly,
it does kind of come off like that. But at the same time, as the overall sentiment of that is, I kind of agree with it. Like the community does kind of talk about which player did worse and which one is. I think
the community talks about whatever is the more interesting thing to talk about. So, and by the way, I'm not saying that people should behave this way or whatever, but TSM winning against Echo Fox, it's not like a lot of people are going to go in there and be like, wow, TSM won. That's crazy. You know, like, I feel like that's a pretty expected result, and TSM played solid, and there's nothing there. People will then look to find, like, what else is there to talk about in that game, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about how Echo Fox lost. They suck, Rush sucks, blah, blah, blah. I think that's sort of what, like, the basic human nature that leads us to this point in time.
I actually think Acadian's wrong on this. I thought Rush played pretty bad. He got caught out a lot. As Jarvan, he kept actively looking for early skirmishes on Rek'Sai. There were so much mistakes that Rush has made. And in general, like, players are of course going to talk about, like, don't shit on the player. Like, I'm sure Acadian has been in that position before when he was on Echo Fox or Optic, where he didn't get a lot of resource and he had to play towards his mid lane in Froggen a lot. He had to play towards his mid lane in Power of Evil a lot, and he was probably very frustrated, and he saw Rush in a similar situation as he used to be. For this one, I actually do think community got it correct, and Rush didn't play the greatest, but there is also times where the community would hunt for no reason.
Yeah,
I think they maybe tunneled a little bit on Rush. Also agree with the more overall point that, like, the community probably spends more time hating on a play than hyping a play up, like, or a player in a series or something. And, like, the things they got wrong, like C9 versus WE. I don't know why this is the example that popped in my head, but it is. At Worlds, where they go to like 5 games and then they have a bad last draft, and everyone's just in the post game flaming Reaper in the draft when he had other great ones early in the series that like won them games. And you know, it's just like all they did was flame that last draft. It wasn't like W played sick, Sneaky played sick, drafts were good. You know, it's generally my team lost, I'm going to complain kind of thing.
That was kind of my overall point with the call too, is exactly that sentiment. Is sometimes we focus so much on what the losing team did wrong and not as much as on what the winning team did well. So
what would you have liked to have seen people talk about? Like, specifically, what would you have liked to see people talk about in that thread? I don't know if you have any ideas, but let's like.
I'm not talking about specifics, but Rush was
incredible stuff. Or
no. I mean, okay. So again, that was getting into the broader point. I just do want to focus back in on the main topic, which is I think that Rush was the heart of that team. They came back and won 4 games straight with him. Without him, they didn't win anything. Rush is what got them back into the playoff hunt. And I don't think that he should be flamed as hard because he was trying to, do his best just like everybody else out there.
How boring would that Reddit thread be? Oh my god.
It's not boring. I mean, okay, you're right.
Rush tried his best, guys. Like, everyone tried his best. Like, we all put our best effort in. Let's not really flame the players. And I'm sure Rush's mom is all going to buy us pizza and Capri Sun at the end.
On the scale of League flame to a player, like the subreddit flame, that was like a 6 or a 7. That wasn't like that bad, compared to like when Parth and TSM got knocked out of Worlds. Like, that's the 10 out of 10 for like the Svenskar and shit and this Parth stuff.
Would you guys agree generally though that it would be nice at least to see the League subreddit celebrate winners rather than shit on losers as much as they do?
Then I think the interaction and then I just think content wouldn't be as fire, and I don't think there would be a lot of comments. I don't think there would be a lot of upvotes. When it's just about positive, it can get really boring.
Why are you
really
dabbing?
fast.
Did somebody
I don't know, just because he said fire, and I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if somebody like dared you to dab on stream or something. I don't know what's going on there.
No.
Wait, Travis, don't you think that Reddit thread would be incredibly boring? Like, oh my god, TSM played really well, but Echo Fox also tried their very, very best.
Yeah, first, to be clear, I don't think anybody should be saying Echo Fox tried their best. But I can understand the sentiment of, why is this post-match thread just so focused on the losers? I wish that there was more conversation.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That's pretty much it. Without getting demoralized by Loco. Just kidding.
One reason I think people tend to over-focus on the mistakes people make is because League is a zero-sum game where for every good play, you're almost guaranteed to have a bad play. And so, like, most kills.
You mean because naturally somebody
for every kill there has
because
to
the
be
other person like probably fucked up.
Well, it's just like in order to get a kill, you must kill someone. So someone is dying, and most deaths in League of Legends, if you play it optimally, are avoidable. And so what happens is he could have avoided that if he did this, this, and this, and people talk about that, and then suddenly he's playing bad or whatever. And you're not talking about how the guy forced that kill. You're suddenly saying. It's just there's more to talk about with what the guy did wrong, so people start, I think, tunneling on that stuff. It's not like basketball where there's like a guy in your face and you hit this disgusting fadeaway 3 and like someone's on fire and oh my god, he's taking over the series. Like, that it's just not how the game is viewed because someone had to have messed up or something.
Okay, the core point I want to make is Reddit is for the fans. Reddit
Yep.
is... Now, if you're a player and you go on Reddit and you swing up and down depending on what you read on Reddit, you're not going to go very long or very far as a player. Reddit is a place for fans to discuss the league, like, and talk about how they felt about it and what they got out of it. Like, if it's for players, like, it's just not a good place for players to go. Like, players should be taking criticism from coaching staff, fellow players, like their management. Like, Reddit is about whatever the fans want to talk about and whatever gets upvoted for the fans to talk about. So yes, like, it's shitty for players, but naturally I think that's fine.
Yeah. All right. I think we've gone over the discussion enough. Strive, do you have any final thoughts on the way out?
Yeah, it was just kind of cool for a fellow pro player, kind of stand up for another fellow pro player on a team he just defeated in the playoffs. I just thought it was kind of a nice gesture. It's a cool dude. Definitely in chat.
Maybe he was it a nice gesture, or was there... Man,
I don't think there was flame there at all. No, I literally think that it gets interpreted wrong. I think it gets interpreted wrong. Acadian's too cool of a dude. He didn't want all the fucking fame on his back because of that tweet. He wanted to fucking recognize another good player, and that they shouldn't be shitting on that player because he outplayed him in that game.
I think this is Acadian.
I do appreciate. I think it's.
I honestly don't think it's an ego thing.
No. I mean, I do think it's nice that he did that, because I always find it nice whenever a winner helps lift up the defeated party in any situation. I think that's graceful and nice. I'm just memeing a little bit, but I think it was cool that he did that. But I also understand why that thread is gonna probably have negativity focused towards his opponent, and not as much positivity focused towards his team. Hey, thanks so much, Strive, for calling in.
For show.
For show.
That was a good one. Great way to end it. Let's see. We got 4 more callers. By the way, everyone, it is Calby May's birthday today. This is not an April Fool's joke. I know that it might seem like he was literally born on April 1st. You can go back and look at everything in the social media. You'll see it's April 1st. So if and he hasn't been on the show in a while. So if everybody would like to help me here, go tweet at Calby May. I'll put a link into his Twitter. I've been trying to get him on the show. He just says he's busy. So if you miss him and you want him on the show, tweet at him and say you want him on the show. Wish him happy birthday. If you don't want him on the show, don't tell him you don't want him on the show.
Send him some death threats.
Just wish him happy birthday. But here, I'll link his Twitter again if we can get some tweets going. I think that would be nice to send to our former almost kind of co-host. You can go say hi to him. Wish him happy birthday. Let's see. Our next caller is here, and that's McHugh. Hi, McHugh.
Hello.
You changed your name. It was McHugh earlier. Now it's McHugh.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like the thing that shows up on your subs, so you knew it was me.
You're a little quiet. I'm going to turn it up a bit.
Okay.
Did my camera just die?
Yes, it did.
Yes, sir.
All right. I think the battery's actually dead, so I'm gonna have to give it a little swapperino.
Can we? You could just plug it in.
I don't have that thing still.
Isn't it just a micro USB slot?
No.
Anyway,
no,
McHugh, remind me where you're calling from?
I'm calling from New Jersey, Atlantic City area.
Another New Jersey person.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
So I want to talk about PAX East and Riot's presence or lack thereof. I go every year, and it really seems like there's just like so many League fans always. Like no matter what, as certain games come and go, there's just always a League fandom there. And there never really seems to be Riot interest to match. Like there's always a couple people that they send like a couple social media people, and I don't want to like flame them. They're doing great. But like I feel like there's just a lot more demand. And especially because every time I go, it's during the during some sort of playoffs. It's always this time of year. It's either like the finals or the semifinals or quarters this time. And like this year, we finally did have a viewing party, but it was only because of
Alienware.
Alienware, exactly. Like if it had not been for Alienware, there wouldn't have been really pretty much anything. And even that wasn't really big. And I don't want to
Didn't they also have a cosplay competition?
They did, and that was also kind of the problem. I don't want to say that was a problem because that was cool, but there was this one tiny room that had to hold like all of it. So they had like everybody feeding into the like cosplay competition for like the hour right before the playoffs started. So then we kind of like formed another line to try and get into that same room to see it, and we kind of like got stuck behind the cosplay people, and we got like forced around, and then all the PAX enforcers had to like jump in, and they weren't really expecting it either. It was kind of a mess. I got in, so I shouldn't complain too much. I got to watch it. It was really cool, but they only really let in like, I want to say like 50 people, and there were a lot of people out there like trying to get in, like trying to wait for people to leave so they could get in. I just feel like there's so much demand. It could really help to like have more Riot engagement.
So, one, just full disclosure, I don't know how somebody would have gotten to this part in the video without knowing this, but obviously we're talking about Alienware, and Alienware sponsors this show, so just so you know, we've disclosed that. Secondly, Twitch chat is spamming Resident Sleepers for this. I actually think this is really important, and one of the reasons why I picked this call, not Mark. Mark is grinning because he didn't.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
I gotta be with my boys.
I picked the call is because I actually think that we all want League to be this like long-standing thing. I think it's important to know what these experience. Okay, mods, this is your cue. If people keep spamming it, go to town. But I actually think it's really important for League to have these kind of in-person events. Just because you didn't go to PAX doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about this, because the next time there's a gaming event in your area, you might want Riot to be there and to have a good experience for you. So I think sometimes these types of issues like fly under the radar because people think, oh, well, it's not my problem. I don't live in Boston. I'm not going to go to Boston for PAX East or whatever. So that's why I care. So anyway, I didn't go to PAX. So can you give me the breakdown? It was basically like the League room was a room that was open at any given point in time?
Well, first off, it wasn't the League room. It was the Alienware room. Like, they let League use it out of the kindness of their hearts, and I know they're sponsors of League too, so that's, you know, that's why they did it, and that makes sense. But like, there were like 2 Riot people there, and like, good for them. They did a great job. But like, I think they could have used more people there, and it was a really small room. It wasn't really big enough to like house all of the interest and all the people that wanted to like get involved. And like I said, like I go every year. I was there last year, and like there was the whole floor was just like Fortnite everywhere to be seen. And you come back this year, and there's not a lot of Fortnite, and there's a little bit of Apex Legends, but there's always League people. No matter what, no matter how old the game is, there's always plenty of League fans.
Mm.
So what would you have liked to have seen? You just want them to have like an on-the-floor presence?
I don't even necessarily need an on-the-floor presence anymore. I know that like the game, like they're not really trying to promote the game, but I would have liked to seen some more promotion of the LCS. Like I would have loved to have seen like the individual teams just have maybe a booth to sell merch. I would have bought merch. None of the teams had any merch. There was a Boston Uprising merch thing there for Overwatch League. There wasn't anything for any of the League teams.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to take this if you guys don't have too many opinions on it. I'm fine to have.
I have a take, but
okay,
you should go first.
No, go for it.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's any secret that the whole like Riot budget cutting thing with like Tencent and the floors on PAX and any kind of like event is extremely expensive. And the main goal of developers doing like a show at PAX is to promote a game or get users. And Riot, like everyone knows about League of Legends, and so they probably didn't think like for cost to player acquisition, the dollars didn't make sense, so that's why they probably didn't have it. As for like a solution for it, there's this program called LPP, and it's League Partnership Program where League partners or influencers are partnered up with Riot or League of Legends, and then they sometimes get flown out to events. I would have loved to have seen Riot send LPP people to PAX and kind of promote League of Legends and then like play with the fans. And then if you see like famous ones, like maybe not even like Tyler won.
Are you part of LPP, Loco?
Yeah, I'm part of. Well, okay, I'm no longer going to be part. I'm no longer going to be part of LPP because I have to pick between media and LPP, and I'm picking. Media.
I just wanted to disclose that if you were part of, because if you're like, I think Riot should be sending LPP people out. And
They should send me as their ambassador.
Well, no, I'm no longer going to be part of it.
I'm teasing. I wanted to make sure that we were disclosing it.
Riot has to find a way where it's cheap but still like meaningful. But in terms of like dollars, player acquisition at PAX is extremely high. So it doesn't make sense for an old school game that already has a large user base to go to PAX to try to pick up users and have a giant booth.
Yeah, no, I don't think that anything on the floor would have been necessary at all, because the floor was packed and that there's just no need for that. But I think that if they maybe had one of the side rooms just twice as big as they had for this watch party, I think it would have gone over better. And if they had promoted the watch party better, if people knew when it was happening, knew it was coming up, because there were a lot of people really excited for it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Let's say there was no room, would you still watch esports? Would you still watch League of Legends?
I would, personally, but I don't think a lot of my friends would have. I'm the guy who's while everyone else is at the panels, I'll be on the floor on my phone just watching the playoffs. And for me personally, I would have loved to have gone to the Boston finals that happened a few years ago, but I couldn't get enough friends to go, and I didn't want to go all the way up to Boston by myself because it is kind of far. But I go to PAX every year because I have a whole bunch of people that'll come with me who love PAX, and they'll go and see a league thing if they're already at PAX, but they're not gonna go all the way up to the finals, whereas I of course would if I had someone to go with.
Yeah, I feel like excuse me, for me, I remember Riot had a lot of presence at these events. I thought it was really nice because you do have a ton of the league community that shows up to PAXs and other events like this. You see all these cosplayers, etc. And I think it's nice when Riot is able to, I don't think that, I agree with Loco. I don't think that there needs to be a giant League of Legends booth where there's a Teemo the size of a city sitting on, I don't know, maybe too big. Teemo the size of, half the convention floor rising up to intimidate everyone. But I do think that it is nice where if you are a League of Legends fan and that's one of your main things that you spend your time gaming on, going to a major gaming event and feeling like there's a space for you is pretty cool. Now you say they use this room. Was the room not big enough, or why was this not did this not work for you?
It was just a really small room. I mean, again, it worked for me insofar as I got there early, I got a seat in the front. I was one of the lucky ones. But there were a lot of people who, were in the back of the line who just didn't get in and wanted to.
Yeah.
I vote we bring LCS finals back to the PAX events.
I don't think that that's a practical situation, Mark.
They had a college final a few years ago. That was awesome, but they don't do that anymore either.
Yo, Travis, isn't the math part the biggest one? Player acquisition costs for hosting a PAX booth is just not worth it, and they're not losing players not by hosting anything at PAX. So if I was cutting budget, this would be the first thing they would target. No, one of the first things.
So I think I disagree with that, just because Riot obviously has shown that there's a ton of things they spend money on that are not necessarily about player acquisition, right? It's just about keeping the community going and that kind of stuff, all the KDA stuff. I mean, esports alone is something that they lose money on, and it's because it's a feature. Now obviously they're hoping to change that sometime, who knows if they will, but I feel they can look at investments in these things, and they don't have to make a crazy investment. Maybe it's just about, hey, if you're going in on this with Alienware, you both buy a bigger room, or you send out more people, or you create other events in the city, you do a takeover of the restaurant nearby and people can go there at any given point in time. I don't think it necessarily has to be the booth. I think that there's a lot of value in these events, and in creating that community there and having it be a place where people can connect with Riot and all that stuff. Otherwise, the only other option for you to connect with Riot is going to one of these LCS finals, and they're not actually a great experience if you want to actively engage with anything, right? For the most part, you just walk in, sit down, and watch the game. I think that's cool, but if you want to actually participate or talk to other people or something like that, it's not a good option. That's why I thought FanFest was such a good idea, and then they canceled it. So I don't know. I think it's fine for League fans to want and expect more out of Riot when it comes to these events.
Okay.
McHugh, any final thoughts?
No, I guess final shout out to Alienware. I think I got the sense that their buy-in was a lot more involved than PAX and than Riot, and I would have liked to have seen Riot match them a little more.
Cool. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
You guys too. Bye.
All right, moving on to the next caller. As Mark wakes back up. Thanks everyone for participating. I think these, like, a lot of people want to just move on to the spicy topic of what is, why does 100T suck? But I think it's important to sort of talk about like the backbone of what actually drives a lot of this stuff, Daniel N92, Miss Liant, Sadistic Nero, Coco Sanchez, Kyle0808, who then gifted 10 subs, including one to Kobe. Thank you so much, Kyle0808. You've gifted like 350 subs or something now. It's crazy. 380? I don't know. Shonley 12, R Farley Dude 97. I believe our next caller is here. Magi Doom. Is that how you pronounce it?
Meiji Doom, but close enough.
Meiji Doom. Where are you calling from?
Sarasota, Florida.
Sarasota, Florida. We get a lot of Florida callers. Maybe we have to go back to Florida again. I thought. You're breathing a little bit in your mic, so I wonder if you can move your mic further back. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
So my topic was a bit of a rehash from earlier, but whether certain voters who don't take the voting seriously should have their privileges revoked.
For sure.
So to go into a little bit of this, I tend to, when I see those results, I tend to go like into the entire ballot and figure out like exactly who everyone voted for and if there are any significant outliers. So going back a ways, we've seen stuff like the C9 guys vote for their own players when they're explicitly told not to. And obviously that alters the results a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, there have been stuff like, and sometimes it has actual implications, like 2017 Spring Split, Contracts beat Acadian by I think 3 points for Rookie of the Split. And part of that was the C9 duo voting for Contracts, so that knocks out points. And then they voted for Stunt and Shady from P1, one of whom had like an 0-2 record as a rookie. So, and they didn't, neither of them, I think only one of them voted for Acadian. So stuff like that seems like really shady, for lack of a better term.
So the problem is I haven't seen that in a while. I feel like that hasn't been recent, right?
Yeah, that some of the, it's not been as bad recently. Like there's still some questionable things, but nothing quite so bad. For this split in particular, there were some things that I want to point out. Like from, I think the Rioters actually tried to be pretty like consistent and put effort into it, which is appreciated.
You mean like the broadcast team, right?
Yeah, and some of the broadcast and the analysts and the casters. And honestly, they're not going to get their privileges revoked, so it's hardly worth it anyways. But among the players and coaches, there's some like Jensen voting for Bang for third team when he doesn't include Sven, or both Irian and Zabutine voting for Blabber when he played one game, when they both have the option of voting for the top three junglers that were considered top three junglers, Svenskeren, Xmithy, and Santorin, or they could have voted for Acadian. And then I don't know if you have connections with this person from the third-party members, Sage Datuin.
I don't know. Who?
Sage Datuin. I think it was like Action Esports or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with who that person is.
Yeah, so I really question whether they even watch NALCS, because their first team mid, they vote Froggen, which in a really strange world you can make an argument for, even though I don't think anyone else put him first team, except for Zix. So I guess there's an argument for that. But second team second team ADC he votes Deftly. And then his third team included Viper, Rush, and then Niski. So specific to that, he doesn't vote Bjergsen at all on any of the three teams. And he's the only one out of all 46 ballots that didn't vote for Bjergsen at all. So I guess that's just want to bring up whether some people who seem like they don't pay attention to the league and what goes on in the league, whether they should have their
I mean, there's literally somebody on the third-party media that doesn't even have an outlet. They're just listed as independent. So I agree with you. Some of these people, a little sketchy.
Are you listed as? Oh my God, you're listed as Travis Gafford Industries. You're independent.
Yeah. What? No. There's a media company, a conglomerate actually. Travis Gafford Industries probably more profitable, by the way, than some of those other sites listed, and probably has better circulation. Anyway, let's.
You have to flip that in there.
Yeah. Well,
I think
Mark. Excuse me. Mark was trying to slam me. Stick up for myself. Let's dive into this. So,
I think so. The problem with a lot of the reasons that you think these things are troll or something is that like there's not a good one size fits all, like this is trolling if X things happens or is true. Because like if I was going to defend Deathly, I would be like, well, he had the best CSD of any bot laner, so he must be good. And I think to your point, like, was this person really watching the LCS if they think that? But it is defendable in some ways, and it's hard to be like, yeah, you lose your voting rights because of this subjective opinion that you shouldn't have put Deathly.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's part of the problem. By the way, for people who want to see the spreadsheet, I'll link it in Twitch chat. Anybody listening or watching or whatever, you can go find it, and it's in the article on the LoL Esports website.
It's kind of like NA solo queue where people don't care, so it becomes meaningless, and then it becomes meaningless, so people don't care. Like, I don't know why it happens.
I care, Loco. I've never not cared.
I care a lot because I worry that if I don't do it right, the community's going to flame me.
Does Europe even do this?
Yeah, Europe. Of course, Europe does this.
I just don't see their shit on the subreddit about it ever. Or am I just like turning a blind eye to it?
It's LEC,
I think the more we make it serious and the more we care about it and the more we make the awards legitimate, I think the better it is. And I think the troll voting thing is like taking backward steps, and like Riot should talk to people that troll voted and seriously consider, if you troll vote, your organization will not have a vote next year. Or
how do you determine if it's a troll vote?
You ask them about the reasoning for it, like why do you have Broken Blade first and like Rush second? You legitimately ask that question to Clutch.
But then you have like who's the one asking that? Like who's the guy who's like, I've determined that your reasoning is not good enough. I am the adjudicator on this issue. Boom, you're banned.
And at a certain point in time, also like why not just, if the moment you have like an adjudicator for that stuff and you're like, well, these people aren't allowed to be in the top 3.
No, it's not allowed to be in the top 3. The commissioner, like, they can run like an algorithm that's like, okay, these are standout names, like names that only got 1 or 2 votes from the entire committee, and then the people that are voting for those then would get questioned, and then if they have legitimate reasons, then sure. But if all your answers are outliers, like Rush at second for jungle, Broken Blade first, then you have a serious question that you need to answer.
Right, but we're saying who's determining if that answer is good enough. I can pick out who I think troll voted, but like, am I supposed to be the guy? Like, who is the guy who is now
Riot
commissioner? Like Riot,
yeah,
right? Like Chris Greeley, probably.
But like, what? No offense to Chris Greeley, I love Chris Greeley, but like, is he gonna argue with the fucking pro coach about his reasoning if he like actually defends it? Which I assume if he.
Sure,
yeah.
maybe that's not the most elegant solution, nor the best solution, but I just hate the idea of these all pro votes turning into a joke.
I hate the idea that it's a joke too. I feel like the best way to do it is to have the community police it by like literally calling out and complaining about people and saying like, hey, like this person troll voted, they shouldn't perhaps not be allowed in it, right? If the community was really upset with an outlet or a team for troll voting, it would put immense pressure on that outlet and or team to fix it. And if they continue to do that anyway, then I think the community can put a pressure on Riot to change that too. I honestly think it's on the community to try to police it.
I agree with Loco that I wish there was something that Riot could do to just be like, all right, you've lost your voting privileges or something for that person. You don't even need to take it away from the org, but like that person's banned from voting. It's not like, but But I think my problem is like I'm okay with that outcome, but how do you get there? And I don't know a really good solution.
We don't have to spend a lot of time trying to look for a solution.
Yeah.
I just want to voice that I think it's really bad that there are troll votes. So Rads is saying that people are allowed to have off opinions. Like Rads, I'm not saying people aren't allowed to have off opinions, but what is a reasoning behind putting Broken Blade first and Rush second and Jungle? That just screams troll voting to me.
Well, I mean, you could even make the argument, and I think this does a good job making the pill easier to swallow. But like for the person who puts Deathly second, maybe you aren't trolling. Maybe you looked at those stats and thought that that was a good way of voting, but it's not, and you should lose your vote because you're not qualified. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, or something. Like you didn't have, like when you asked that question of sufficient reasoning, you weren't trolling, but like in our opinion, you shouldn't have a vote or something.
Yeah, it's not that you're not allowed to have an opinion, but then your opinion shouldn't go towards like awarding someone that's been working towards a whole split for an award or to perform.
Yeah, I don't even mind it if people snub someone, like a coach or a team snubs someone. Like, I think it actually makes it kind of interesting and kind of dramatic if it's like, wow, Cloud9 must have beef with this person. Like last year, whenever Peter didn't choose Aphromoo and then Aphromoo didn't choose Peter, I think that's interesting. I don't think that it's like an issue. But I do think that if, like, let's just create a theoretical scenario, right? Nothing like this happened, but let's say somebody in the third party media like just voted, and you just are like, how could you even choose this, right? Like they just pick crazy people every time. It felt like they just like, yes. But I mean, like even more so across the board. But the Blabber one is a pretty good example. You know, I think that's when you start to wonder, well, is this person somebody that should be a part of this? You know, and if the community thinks that they're not, because in my opinion, media are, speaking at least about the third-party media side, I think media are there because they're supposed to be qualified and they should have community respect, right? Other than why don't you let like college kid with like a blog on blogspot.com, you know, get access to this? The idea is that these are qualified media people, and if they're just like screwing around with their vote, then they're not qualified.
Ultimately, like you guys are saying, it's an opinion thing. Like I personally would have had Pobelter second, and a lot of people would call me an idiot for that. So I'm not suggesting that having different choices is like somehow wrong or incorrect. But stuff like picking Blabber when he plays one game, when there are 3 or 4 perfectly qualified junglers to vote for, it makes me frustrated to see some people not get the respect they deserve.
Yeah.
And I think you could ask, like, why does Riot's ballot allow Blabber to even be on there?
Yeah.
But like, at the same time, I would like to have a group of people voting who we can trust that, like, if you do have the ability to pick someone troll, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't be trusted with that responsibility, you don't get it. So, like, you know what? Fuck the Deathly guy. Like, let him have Deathly. You know what? That's defendable in some regards. Broken Blade first, whatever. You can kind of defend that. But the Blabber shit is like you're hard trolling.
Meji Doom, thank you for calling it. Anything you want to say on the way out?
Nothing too big. Just want to say, big fan of all 3 guys watching your content for a while back in the State of the League days. So
just want to give a shout out to Raz in the chat before he goes, having one of the best anime lists that was being shared around today. Great anime list.
I'm sorry that your exit has been trolled by Mark, but I appreciate you calling.
Yeah, no problem. All right, see you.
All right, we're gonna do these next 3 quick as a Fox. I don't know. Mark?
Oh,
can
yeah.
you go get
okay.
the next people? Mark? Okay, there we go. He's got a cat in his lap, so he's a little distracted. Thank you to Ari Waddle, Show Kill for 5 months. See you in St. Louis. Hope I'm able to figure out where the venue is for Hotline League Live. Me too. Jack Jamkin, thank you for the 5 months. Kel Dar TV, thank you for the 2. And Seawick, thank you for the Prime. It's nice whenever people throw subs my way. Really appreciate
we have our next
caller is here. Topher Fry 7. Is that how I say it?
Yes.
Okay. Topher Fry 7. Where are you calling from?
Western suburbs of Chicago.
Western suburbs of Chicago. You don't sound enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was just on vacation, so.
Okay. Turned you up a bunch. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I want to say that Froggen is a top 3 mid.
Froggen is a top 3 mid. Okay, so if you were voting in this, you would have put Froggen up there.
Yes. And I did some statistical analysis. So I did this.
You're gonna have damage per share.
Yeah. Of course, he had highest damage per minute by far. This was again stats from a few weeks ago, but also I calculated that he had the highest damage per gold. So he's very efficient. So, and he's also second highest CSD at 10, second highest gold at 10, second highest damage percent. And this is just all mid who have played 12+ games, so not Sligo or Golden Glue.
What's his most played champ?
It was like Lissandra, I think. I'm not sure.
Oracle's Elixir doesn't have a way of figuring that out, right?
Nope, you gotta go to Games of Legends.
Oh, Games of Legends? Okay.
All
right. Well, so you're saying statistically speaking, Froggen.
Actually, it was Karthus, one of the highest DPM champions in the game. Interesting that his DPM would be high then.
Interesting, his damage percentage would be extremely high when his AD carry has one of the lowest damage percentage in the league.
Huh.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird shit going
Froggen's
on
so
here.
good, he does all the damage the ADC doesn't need to.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like this is the problem that always happens when we talk about Froggen. Is like I feel like I'm always on the other side saying he's not as good as people are saying.
The two things Mark hates, 100T and Froggen.
I don't hate Froggen. I just feel like that this is like the kind of stuff.
100T.
Oh god, you got me there.
Yeah.
I think Froggen's really good, and I would have had him 4th on my list most likely. But like, the reason his damage share is so high is like you have to take into account what's going on with his team. Where like they have Deathly, who is one of the worst damage per minute bot laners, and they know that, so they put him on like a fair amount of hyper late game damage champs. Like he's played more Karthus than he's the only one who played Karthus, and he played a ton of it, and like that's one of the reasons that he accomplishes that.
So my argument would be Froggen's really fucking good at what he's really fucking good at. He's a great team fighter. He's a great control mage player. But that's not why Froggen's bad. If like when it comes to playing Vel'Koz, when it comes to playing Karthus, and when it comes to team fighting with those champion, I actually think Froggen's like probably top 2 in the league. There's very few players that can rival him in that. But that's not why Froggen's rated lower by analysts and coaches and teams. It's because of stuff he can't do, or it's because of stuff he doesn't do as well. Side lane play, his roam happened better. Communication, synergy with jungler, not the best. So that's where you take points off of Froggen. The stats you listed clearly list out Froggen's strength, but what you're not talking about and what you're not really conceptualizing is Froggen's weakness.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Who do you, just curious, Mark, who did you have above Froggen?
I had the top 3 mids from the top 3 teams because I'm a basic.
Would you hit Froggen 4th, Mark?
I said yes. So for my I did a tier list, I think like week 6 or week 7. I had Bjergsen number 1 there, and I switched that for the end of the split. And I think I had Froggen 6.
Yeah, you had him pretty. I think you didn't have him that high.
Well, because I had Pobelter 4th, and then I had PoE and Froggen is basically tied in my mind as like late game hyper carry threats that
you put Froggen over Pobe. Now?
So for the end of this, I would have put him over Pobe, but just barely. I mean, it's super close.
Yeah,
that one was pretty close, but I wouldn't have. I think he played much better than PoE this split, who I initially had them pretty close to. Moving on, huh? We got to get through these topics quickly because we're.
Any final thoughts on Froggen?
I'm just want to say that C9 is my favorite team, but I still think Froggen's better than Niski.
Yeah. Froggen has the most devout fans. There's just like this hardcore group of people who, if somebody says like
CLG EU fans, baby,
I don't like how Froggen's hair looks today, a bunch of people come out and they're like, "You're a fucking idiot." Thanks so much, Topper Fry, for calling in.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to chime in on the Crown point because Twitch chat's talking about it. Crown's super duper good. You put him in Korea, I think he's better, but the problem is he doesn't work very well with his team, and there were a number of times you could see that they had problems. No hate on the guy. I think he's skill-wise one of the best in NA, but I don't think he did a good job working with his team and got caught out of position a lot of times, seemingly because they weren't on the same page.
Yeah. All right, 2 more colors to go. We're winding down the
Yeah.
show. I think you just Cygnus X4 for the 5 months. Appreciate it.
Yo, if no one calls, can we at least talk about C9 versus TSM and then like the final matchup if no one calls and asks about that?
Yeah, that's fine. Engine.
No.
Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Where are you calling from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Is that a picture of Scara in your...
Yes, sir.
That's a really great
picture. Oh, is that what that was? I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Glorious.
I figured it out before you did, despite your
Offline TV, by the way.
Yeah. I'm a fan of offline TV. I can tell you are too. I don't think Mark is. He can't recognize people. What do you want to... You're calling from Arizona?
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
My take is like C9 will easily beat TSM because they're top side of the map.
Okay.
So like I think Acadian in the Fox series, he showed like 2 really good games on Rek'Sai, games 2 and 3. But aside from that, I think he's been pretty weak. And top side, I know Loco shared his opinions on Broken Blade. But for like with TSM constantly giving Broken Blade prio on the draft with his counter pick on red side, as well as having the highest jungle proximity, I don't think he's really shown that much with all the resources he's given. And I feel like Licorice, he's just the like best top laner, and like the difference between Licorice and Broken Blade is just too big.
So, is that game... Well, so there's 2 things here. 1, is the difference that big? And 2, is that enough to tilt the match in the favor of C9?
Difference is definitely there. I don't think anyone can argue Licorice Slim Scarin are better than
Acadian Broken Blade.
Yeah, Acadian Broken Blade. And then that's where we start factoring in Bjerg versus Niski. That has to go towards Bjerg. And then we start factoring in Zaben versus Smoothie. That can actually go either way. In terms of top side for C9 winning, I don't think anyone's going to contest you on that. It's really about how you feel about rest of the map. For me personally, I also have C9 winning 3-1, not 3-2. I think the top side of the map thing is going to be pretty true. And I also rate C9's C9's bot lane pretty high. The only like outlier would be if Zaben and Smoothie start going off, and if C9 lose bot hard enough, then I think then we actually have a series and it can go either way. But if Zaben Smoothie versus holy shit, I'm blanking out, Sneaky Zazels goes as it should, and it's not a hard swing either way, then I do think C9 wins 3-1.
I think I agree with that topside point to hammer it home. But I think what we saw TSM do in games 3 and game 4 was interesting, and I think could actually be a better path to beating C9 than just trying to win 2v2's top all series long. And I don't think Niski's as exploitable as Phoenix is, but if you can actually go and beat him, maybe it was game 2. I think it was game 2 actually. The Corky and the Swain games, whatever. Go mid and try and blow up mid lane, and then exert that pressure elsewhere on the map and like open up the map through mid lane versus just trying to go top initially or something like that. And I think that's maybe a better play on the attack than just like taking on C9's strength with your strength and hope, like, because I always feel like whenever 2 team strengths line up, the one who just does it better wins 99% of the time.
Then that would be C9 winning. TSM's a top-sided team.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Is I don't want TSM to play the top side if they're going to try, because I think C9 will just do it better. Like even if they're not playing a top side, like I feel like Licorice can take like Aatrox or some like tanky frontliner that doesn't actually need a ton of resources, and Sven can go elsewhere, and like Licorice can just absorb the pressure. Like I don't even think Licorice needs to try and win the 2v2. So I would prefer if TSM didn't try and snowball through top.
Yeah, your point about like playing through mid, I just feel like Niski's just like with Reaper, like I just don't think he like, I'm pretty sure he knows like Acadian jungle pathing. I mean like not obviously, but I feel like he has a good sense, and he just doesn't die to ganks that often. And I feel like if they try to open it up through mid and they try to like push in mid wave and try to look for a play like top or bot, I feel like Niski's just the type of player to give up that mid wave, and he's just gonna rotate and like they're just gonna have numbers, and I feel like I don't think like what you said, Loco, is I don't think Niski's that exploitable, and he's not that selfish compared to like Phoenix.
Yeah, dude, Phoenix deaths were really bad in the game, Mark. If you remember the game 2, the one you're talking about, the quirky death, Rush saw Rek'Sai, and Phoenix still stayed up, and then he ran backward instead of running away from.
Hey, instead of focusing so much on the losing team, why don't we talk about the players that did well? That
Wait, Loco was
series?
in favor of it. That's why he's doing it. A little flamer.
But I like how Echo Fox got exploited was just like so bad, like dying to
Yeah, it's not replicatable necessarily.
Like, Zaya being down 20 CS to Lucian like 8 minutes into the game without any kind of jungle pressure from either side, like that was just god awful from Echo Fox. No.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's as replicatable, but I still think I don't think going top and 2v2ing time and time again will be how they win the series. If they do win just through that, I'll be amazed. Broken Blade, I'm sorry I ever doubted you as a top 3. If you guys if they win through Broken Blade this series, I'll record a video or something professing my love for, I don't know.
How confident are you on Acadian after he gets pushed off of Rek'Sai? His Jarvan didn't look that great, and his Rek'Sai looked really great, and Echo Fox never really pushed him. I want to see what happens when people start pushing Acadian off of more of his picks.
Yeah, I think the jungle matchup would actually be where the series can swing a lot, because Sven is prone to like dying a bajillion times. So I think if Acadian has like a great series and like him and Bjergsen are going to his jungle and like harassing Sven and stuff, maybe that can work too. But I think Niski's really good about reacting to pressure onto Sven. So I don't know.
It sounds like in both situations you guys feel like the only way this works is if like TSM players have remarkable standout performances that let them to make this miracle happen.
I could see it being like a draft / like strategy approach too, like I was saying, if they swap up where Acadian's going a lot or something, but I don't know.
Engine, sounds like it's maybe a little bit broader than the top lane, but there's an agreement that the top lane is definitely much stronger for C9.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to say as we say goodbye?
Just want to say, really enjoy the shows. And Loco, if you don't get Ellis on Listen Loco, I'm gonna have to unfollow.
Don't worry, we'll get him on. Me and him hashed out our beef.
Alright, cool.
You have a lot of beef.
Why do you have beef, dude? What's going on? You like
I'm
all meat eater kind of guy? You're on keto? A lot of beef.
I don't know. I'm a nice guy, and people don't like me for no reason.
All right.
But people should flame on Reddit more. And
let's move on to our final caller. Let's see. We got... Oh, I was going to read off another sub, but there weren't any more.
Hello.
Childish Albino is here. Childish Albino. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Australia, actually. Sydney.
Oh, sick. Have you been on the show before?
No, I have not, but this is my first time, actually.
We always get these Australian callers on, and you're a sub.
Yes, I actually gifted a sub last time I watched the show, so someone gave it to me. I was like, hey, thank you.
Oh, okay, so you didn't... This was a gift. It's not...
Yeah, next time you go into pleb calls until you spend your own money on sub
or your own Twitch Prime. I'm just kidding. Thank you for being a sub, even if it did get gifted to you. It means that you were watching, and that alone makes me happy. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I think C9 vs TSM is going of this split, and I think whoever wins that semi-final, which I think will be close, I think they're going to sweep TL in the finals just because of the mentality of the organization.
Holy crap. Okay, so the game of the split, or match of the split, you think it's going to go 5 games?
I think TSM versus C9 is going to go 5 games. I don't care who wins. I'm a TSM fan, so I'd love it if they win, but I think either way they're going to win. One of them is going to win, and then I think if the playoff format allowed for it, we'd see TSM vs C9 in the finals, but unfortunately the way the seeding works, TL are going to get swept.
So you have TL over FlyQuest. You believe enough in TL that you think they're going to beat FlyQuest.
I think they'll beat FlyQuest just because they play the same style as FlyQuest. They play like the slow, scale up, that kind of stuff, and I think they're just better at it because they have the better players. But I think both TSM and C9 have showed they can play a variety of styles. I think they can also play more of the aggressor. I think they play more of the engager. They pick their own fights. They choose, how do they want to play the game. And I think they're more adaptable. I think TL will just pick the same thing over and over again, and they'll just try and scale like they have in the past, and they'll lose.
Okay. So, let's get into this. I mean, you guys already have C9 beating TSM. Do we think it's going to be the match of the split?
Yeah, for sure.
Is it the real finals, Loco?
I think it's definitely the more hyphy one, and maybe I'm just underrating TL from the recency bias, but I want to go for it being the match of the split. What about you, Mark?
I don't know. I feel like we're downplaying TL too much. Because it's not, you can't even, I don't have a good reason to say that. Like, I don't have like in those losses, this, and this were true. You know, like, I wish I had some reasoning. I don't have a ton of good reasoning. I just look at the star power on that team, and I'm like, there's no way they're terrible and going to get swept in finals. Like, they're too good.
Okay, let me give you a reasoning. Almost all the players and coaches I talked to have said C9 or TSM is the best team. Very few have said the TL is the best team, and these are the teams that are.
That doesn't mean it's going to be a sweep.
Well, I don't think the sweep part is true. I actually think if C9 goes to the finals, if C9 goes to finals, I think TL wins.
Why do you think that? I'm curious. If C9 goes to finals, why do you think they beat? Why do you think TL beat C9 in finals? But then I assume by your wording that TSM would beat TL if they somehow make it through.
I mean, that's been the rock paper scissors we've seen this split.
Yeah, true.
I think C9 plays fearless, and I think that's one of the best things about C9. They aren't scared. They make plays when they're behind, when they're ahead. They're actually snowballing their lead, and they're always pedal to the metal. And versus TL, they tend to kind of choke up a lot, and they tend to overthink versus TL. And it feels like they have a mental block versus TL starting from the last finals, even throughout this season. So I'm kind of worried for how C9 is going to play versus TL, because a lot of C9's strengths come from being proactive and being able to play their game no matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter if they're ahead. It doesn't matter if they're behind. It doesn't matter who they're playing versus. It doesn't matter if they're playing versus Koreans, but it seems like it does matter when they play versus TL.
That's fair.
I feel like part of...
Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, part of the rock, paper, scissors thing, if you look at like game time, TSM's the slowest team in the league, C9's the fastest, and I think TL is somewhere in the middle. And so, like, the way I see it works is like TSM is like super good in the late game. Their Baron calls have been good. They also do a good job getting leads, and they have a good matchup in terms of being top focused versus TL. So that helps them win. On the flip side, C9's too fast for TSM, like Loco's saying, and they're play fearless, and they're also good from playing from behind. So even if TSM gets an early lead, they take too long to close it out. And then like TL's kind of the middle ground where like they're so good that when C9 goes for some of those crazy comeback plays or whatever, that kind of stuff, they're not as good. But I don't know how directly that's going to hold up in best of fives.
Mark, do you think my take's too hot regarding C9 not being able to beat TL in finals if they make it through, and TSM having a better shot?
Well, so we talked about this in your interview where I said I think TL has the best chances of winning the finals because their semifinal is way easier.
Yeah.
Right. But I actually think C9's my like personal favorite in terms of like who's the best right now. So I don't know. I think C9 can adapt and beat TL. I don't see like a clear problem for why they can't. Like you said, like mental block seems to be the problem. It's not like a bad matchup or this or that kind of thing.
I agree with Loco. I do think it's just a rock paper scissors thing. I think if TSM had ended up against FlyQuest, you would have had TSM go to MSI. But I think because TL will probably face C9, because C9 will probably face TSM, you'll probably end up having TL go to MSI.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you,
That's
Charles.
basically what I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you for calling in. Anything you want to say on the way out?
Shout out to Alienware. Shout out to Travis and Loco and all you guys. You guys make great content, all of you, and I'm glad you guys are doing content together. So get Loco on this show more, or get one of these two on Listen Loco or something, because they're really cool. And shout out to Emily PDF. I don't think she's watching right now, but she'll watch the VOD, I think, and shout out to her.
What's her deal?
She was the girl the girl on Twitter who found Bango to 100 Thieves. Yeah, Yeah, you shouted her out on stream when that was happening. She was Emily Trouble then. She's changed to Emily PDF for some reason. I don't know.
PDF, like the file
Yeah.
format.
Yeah, so Emily_PDF. That's her Twitter handle.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I think you follow her on Instagram. I'm friends with her in real life, so yeah.
Very good.
Who doesn't follow Travis Fall on Instagram? You know what I'm saying?
I follow.
He doesn't follow me.
Instagram.
He doesn't follow me.
I follow Mark on Instagram.
Weird. I don't know why.
I will. Well, shout out to her. Thank you, Childish Albino, for calling in.
All right.
Albino.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, I just want to pronounce it like with an Australian accent.
I say Childish Albino because it's like Childish Gambino, the rapper.
Yeah.
So that's how I say it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Have a good one.
No worries. You too. Bye.
Okay.
Great
Mark,
hot take to end the show.
Mark,
Whoa.
Loco wanted to talk about playoffs, but I feel like we did. We just didn't really talk that too much about the TL FlyQuest match.
I thought we had
talked
one.
about it. We talked about it earlier on the call. Remember, Travis? Where
So
we
do you think we're good?
Well, yeah. There's another thing I want to mention. If it might be too spicy, but if you guys are down, I would love to do it. Who do you guys think? Whose seat is the hottest in terms of players and coaches going into next split for the teams that didn't make playoffs?
Whose seed is the hottest?
Who's most likely to get canned?
I
for
think
playoffs?
that Hanser, you know, he's a pretty warm guy. I think his seat would be pretty warm.
It's weird because 100 Thieves, I think, has a lot of faith in Prawley, but I think based off what happened with the academy tryouts, feels like for the last week, it feels like every position on that team is like up for debate except for Bang.
I think for sure who his seat is super hot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah. I feel like that's definitely it. Like, honestly, part of the reason I think that is because 100 Thieves, like, so people in chat are saying Dokla, but I feel like 100 Thieves is more likely to make roster changes as an org than make big changes, and that is why, like, I would not be surprised to see Dokla still on that next split, because I don't think that, like, that org is chasing excellence in the same way that 100T currently is, and is willing to throw down the bucks to make it happen. So who he being on in an organization with incredibly high expectations and underperforming so much is, I think, his, like, the biggest concern for him.
Anyone you're concerned for on CLG?
I mean, Darshan. I like Darshan a lot, but I don't think he should have stayed on that team. I think he should have, like, I think CLG should have found a different team. I think Darshan is the type of player that could go off and have a really good time on at another org, but I feel like his time on CLG is just, like, not going to work.
Mark, what about you?
Outside them, I already talked a little bit about Optic. I mean, Clutch, I expect them to blow that shit up for the most part. Like, I don't know who you would keep there other than Vulcan.
That's like a burn it to the ground team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that
why
part is, like,
up.
what do you even do there? Like, that's just...
I mean, it's between splits, so you can't do much.
Maybe
can't, like,
you get going, or you get C9 Academy?
Oh, dude. The thing is, like, when you pick up Academy players, right, you're supposed to pick them up for cheap. Owners aren't selling Academy players for cheap from the prices that I heard. Like, it's fucking crazy high.
They're, like,
But
trying
I
to
wonder
hoard
how much
them.
money
Like,
you
they're
could
fucking...
save having that lineup instead of the Clutch lineup. You don't think the Clutch lineup is pretty expensive?
So...
Outside Huni, no. Who would be expensive?
Huni. I mean, that alone, I feel like it does a decent dent.
And also, like, what are you saying as an org? Like, wouldn't another star
I know,
player
it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, that's why somebody told me recently that Jack wants to sell C9A as a package, including West Rice.
Yeah.
And I feel
You didn't
like
hear that from me, did you, when I said it out loud on the show last week? Or 2 weeks ago?
I heard you say they should. I didn't think you had said that you heard that.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said they should. I was just hoping that your brain wasn't getting...
I heard that is... Plus,
no, the
like,
way the Jack...
Like, that is the most Jack thing in the world, right? Is to try to sell it all as one package.
So, even if that's a rumor, right? The way the Jack promotes C9A, it aligns with what you're saying. They're better than bottom tier LCS teams.
Yes.
They're like the 6th best LCS
But
teams.
it is so embarrassing as an org to just be like, We're taking Jack's pre-packaged combo pack of players in LCS success. They'll only here's why. Okay. Here's why you do that. You do it if you have intense pressure from your ownership group to bring in results. And you just you somehow convince the ownership group this is a good idea because you have intense pressure. So I don't know what the clutch management team is looking like.
You're telling your ownership group, I don't know how to do my job, and Jack's leftovers and Jack's academy players are better than what I invested money into. You're basically telling your ownership, I'm a fucking idiot.
That is true. On the other hand, if you can get them to not fire you by taking those players, you're probably much better set up to have success next split than you are keeping your current lineup.
What's the ownership's rationale behind not firing someone that failed and then picking up a package and then next split, this split he'll be fine?
And maybe you don't feel like getting a new person. I mean, how clued in do we think some of the some of these ownership groups I think are they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they probably don't even care. You're right.
Yeah, so they just are why aren't we getting results? Maybe if depending on if the ownership group doesn't know enough, you're don't worry, guys. I've got 5 different players. We're gonna go get all these guys, and I've got a great coach.
And the way you sell it is guys, I just found the best up and coming team.
Yeah.
I scouted them out from the depths of this other league that someone else already put them in.
We're gonna pull 5 players from academy and this coach. I've done a lot of research. I think these guys could be really successful, so we're gonna get them.
Do you think this offseason is going to be crazy?
I hope so.
I think it's just super hard to make big splashing moves. Maybe one team, if they go for a complete blow it up thing, maybe, but it's hard to. I can't remember too many seasons where
C9
from spring
Weeby
to summer.
says, IMO C9A is getting praised too much from one game. Well, just so you know, I have heard
they also scrim.
That in scrims they crush people in scrims, as well. So I don't think people think this. If you hear people talking about it, it's not just because of that. It's because apparently they're really good scrim partners.
And they've absolutely slammed Academy.
Yeah,
we'll see if it holds true the finals this week. But they've slammed Academy last year, and they seem to be slamming it again.
Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, those are a lot of they're mostly. It's not like this is a random group of people. We've seen these guys in LCS before, so.
Yeah.
And Mark, how much upturn do you think is going to be in the off season from spring to summer?
At most, 20% of the league gets turned over in some regard.
Wow.
But that's across all teams.
I know, but I mean, that just means that you need a lot of turnover in the because obviously, the top teams aren't going to touch their rosters.
Right, but anything in the bottom 4, I think you could see 2 moves each. Did I do the math wrong? You see 2 moves each.
You need 2 moves
on the
each
bottom 4
in
teams.
every
That's 8
team
teams
in order for it to be 20%.
8 players out of 50. No, I was pretty close. I mean,
20% is 10 players switching.
Right, and so I was saying.
Oh, sorry,
I was
1
saying
out of
maybe
every
8.
team.
Right, but I wasn't saying that. I was saying you have.
Let's just say how many starter spots are going to switch. Stop trying to be smart with the math.
Well, I said at most 20%. So I wasn't trying to be smart with the math. I was saying if the bottom 4 teams are the teams that are candidates for potential switching of rosters, because I don't think Golden Guardians will. Echo Fox might, so it might even be bottom 5. You actually have a pretty easy chance of getting there because it doesn't require that. One team blows their roster. Right, one team blows their roster up, so there's 4 gone, and Echo Fox changes 1 or 2. Optic changes 1 or 2, CLG changes 1 or 2, and 100 Thieves changes 1 or 2, and suddenly you're at 12 people. It's not that hard to get there.
All right, I'm gonna say 22%.
Okay. Final question before whatever.
You finally excuse us from my own show? Yes, go ahead, Loco.
Well, I want to ask one final question. I'm super curious to grab you guys' thought on. Do you guys think Dardoc finds a team?
I hope so.
I hope so. I think.
He's such a
not
great
so,
part
like,
of the
not hope so, but likely yes or no.
Yes. Optic will sell one of them for money.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's what will happen. Is you'll either have Meteos or Dardoc stay on, and then the other one gets sold.
So the obvious team that we would be talking about is 100 Thieves Dardoc, right?
Or CLG.
Dardock's already being on
Return of
CLG.
Dardock CLG.
Do you think
I mean,
they'll
I
take-
don't think he goes. I think he goes to CLG before he goes to 100T.
Really?
I think 100T is an org. 100. I don't think 100T is as CLG is, in my opinion, should feel really desperate right now. And it's like the fucking scene where they show up in
The Loki?
Yes, the Loki scene. I think that's the case. I think 100T. So I think both 100T and CLG have org like bias against a Dardock just because of their cultures. Where both of them would not be willing to take that risk, whereas others would. But I think CLG is desperate, and also they've got Weldon, and you gotta imagine Weldon's like, I could totally handle a Dardock.
Yeah, but probably worked with Forgiven, so maybe they can swing that.
Yeah, well, that's my point. I would say probably worked with Forgiven. He probably doesn't want to have to go down that road again.
That's an off. I feel like that's so off-brand for both teams.
Oh, 100% it's off-brand, but I think CLG is more desperate than 100. I think not to say that I think 100T shouldn't feel really bad about their situation. I just think 100T probably thinks, okay, like we can fix this. We don't need Dardock. Whereas I think CLG should be like, fuck, press the emergency launch button, like get this guy in.
I mean, even Echo Fox could technically go for him too. I think. It's a
No
possibility.
way. I guess they already taken in Phoenix back, so maybe Dardock again. Oh my god, all these scenarios sound so unlikely. It's pushing me towards Dardock won't find a team. I think Dardock's good enough to be on a team, but all the options we're talking about.
Well, he can stay where he's at, and Meteos can go
Yeah,
to one of these teams.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's that option too.
I think
Meteos
that
is not good. Meteos is not 100 Thieves. Then to Meteos to Clutch or
CLG.
Meteos and CLG sounds good to me, man.
Yeah.
CLG Meteos. Oh, that's also off-brand, no?
I think it's less off-brand than CLG Dardock.
Oh,
I actually think it's off-brand, but I actually think Meteos could be a good fit for CLG.
I think this is like the only time I can legitimately have this conversation with you guys without any of us being affected with information. I feel like in a week or two, if we have this conversation, like we can't talk about it.
I mean, we can talk about it, just not on air. Or we can if any of us want to be extra leaky. All right. That's the show, everybody. Mark, do you want to shout out, plug anything?
My top 10 anime list is the best one that was tweeted out today. We put out an offline TV video that's pretty funny, so you guys should go and laugh at that and then press the like button on it and then subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Loco?
Academy playoffs are this week.
Well, there was a lot less fuck locos in the chat today, so I'm glad chat liked me better. You can find my content.
We just timed out all the other people that did that business.
I have Locodoco across all social media, so Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can just type twitch.tv/Locodoco. I'm everywhere on there. I do a show every morning or every Monday 8 a.m. with Dom and Daniel on Dom's channel, and then you guys probably know Listen Loco. And thank you so much for Travis for having me on.
Yep. Thanks for coming on. I'm Travis Gafford across all social media except for Instagram, where I have to use an underscore because there's a fisherman in Texas who has my name. He's a much better version of myself, so I'm really jealous of him. But you can find me at all those places. Also on Flickr, but it's a little racy. Either way, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Be sure to catch Hotline League live in St. Louis. We'll have more details on that soon. This has been Hotline League, episode 69.